Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for the September 16th meeting of the Board of Supervisors. So this meeting I'm calling to order, and the roll call, please.
Mr. Holroyd?
Present.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Present.
Mr. Roan?
Here.
Mr. Shepherd? Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. For the invocation tonight, we have Pastor Ben Carr from the Water's Edge Church. Please join us.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for the great country in which we live. God, the country of freedom and the country to be able to express our feelings and our thoughts. And God, tonight we just lift up this meeting. God, we thank you for York County. We thank you for all those that are represented, God, here tonight. We thank you for a great place that we live in. We thank you for the police. We thank you for the fire and rescue. We thank you for our schools. We thank you for our businesses and our churches. And God, tonight we just ask tonight that you would give this board of supervisors and those involved tonight, God, wisdom. As your word says that when we ask wisdom, you give it to us. And so tonight we're asking for wisdom from you. And God, in all things tonight, may the name of Jesus be glorified and honored. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you very much. Will you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. Tonight we have a presentation, and Chief Ackery, you want to come forward?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Supervisors, Mr. Bellamy and Mr. Hill. Just real quick, Chief Ackery's been with the department since 1990. He has served as a lieutenant in the department, captain and EMS supervisor in his career with us, battalion chief, and currently serves as the assistant chief of operations for the department. Chief Ackery is also involved in his hometown of the Isle of Wight Carrollton section. He served as the volunteer fire chief for many years in that department and other roles in that department. And also currently serves on the Board of Supervisors for Isle of Wight. So he's very much involved in the community and local government, either in here and in Isle of Wight. Probably more importantly, though, he's a husband, a father, and a grandfather. 3 daughters, a son, 1 grandson, and if you don't mind me saying, I understand the rumor is that there's
Don't say it. Don't say it. Might be one.
he might be another grandfather. Might be
know.
grandfather times
That's
2.
right,
So,
that's right.
but again, Chief Ackery has been with the department since 1990. And 35 years, Chief, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Pleasure.
Well, so 35 years is better than I've done. So
Good.
that's a long time to go, and it just shows your dedication to the job that you do.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate having you serve for us.
I enjoy serving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You done? Okay. Next on the agenda is the citizens' comment period, and the first person that I have signed up is Marcy Woodley. Marcy, would you come forward, please? You've got 3 minutes. Give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Woody. I've lived at 104 Rich Road since July of '03, so over 22 years. I am here tonight to voice my concern and respectfully ask for your consideration of a privacy fence or a wall between my property and the newly built Dunkin' Donuts. Back in May 2025, I called to ask what type of barrier would be placed between my property and the site, and I was told by staff that the plan was for matured trees and shrubs to serve as a barrier. I also inquired about a dumpster and was told the property was too small for one. We would have bins with lids, but the dumpster has actually been placed over at the strip mall next to us, so not an issue there. As construction progressed, my husband and I became increasingly concerned about two issues: privacy and drainage. Regarding drainage, I reached out to a couple people, Sheila Knoll being one of them, Brian Fuller, Caitlin Abbott. Caitlin responded to assure that an underground stormwater management system had been installed and a runoff should not impact our property. So as of now, that's been taken care of. As far as the barrier, I was told, a series of trees and shrubs had been planted. I did give Ms. Knoll some pictures, if you've all been able to see them. We have one tree, it's like a sapling, and three very small bushes, so I wouldn't really call that a series of trees and bushes. There's zero, hardly at all, any privacy at all. However, because of my 40-foot wide parcel is zoned general business, a transfer buffer was not required by ordinance. The reality is that that what has been provided is not any privacy. I've also reached out providing with some pictures at night showing how the lighting, the installation was before it was fixed. Shields were not ordered, and we had to suffer for a month with our entire property facing George Washington Memorial Highway, lit up like a football field with the light shining directly through my children's windows. This was eventually corrected when it was found out to be out of ordinance, but after we endured weeks of disruption. I have shared photos with you, like I said, from the front porch, and now we see employees sitting in their cars on break, customers passing through the drive-through, and even people cutting across our lawns, which we have spent a few $100s on new camera systems, and I have videos of that showing that. People just cutting through our front lawn, front porch area, entire area, walking over to the street. And I just don't think that that's right. And I invite each of you to come to our property and see what I'm looking at. I know Ms. Knoll goes down our street often because she is friends with Mary Clark. But in asking, I just ask, in closing, I ask that each of you please support an installation of a 8 to 10 foot privacy wall or fence or something thereof.
Thank you. Next person I have signed up is Pam Pouchot. Please come forward. Name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Good evening. Name is Pam Pouchot, 103 Kimberly Court, Yorktown. Violence is not an acceptable solution to stifle dissent. 4 former presidents and many Democratic elected officials have condemned the murder of Charlie Kirk, even though they may have vehemently disagreed with his violent and derogatory rhetoric. I have spent decades fighting against gun violence in any form and have never celebrated the death of any victim. What I did not realize is that the death of Kirk would bring out the call for retribution in the form of violence and polarizing hateful speech by those who call themselves MAGA. I did not realize Kirk was their messiah. The vast majority of mass shooters are white heterosexual males, and yet not once has the media referred to their significant others as heterosexual, but in this case are obsessing about a transsexual partner. There have been 7 transgender shooters out of 4,147 mass shootings, and yet they are falsely called out as a primary problem. Trump is calling for attacking all Democrats or libtard left-wingers. There has been violence from both sides of the aisle, but according to former Trump-appointed FBI Director Christopher Wray in a congressional hearing, the greatest problem was coming from the ultra-right-wing groups such as homegrown militias, neo-Nazis, and white supremacy groups. Trump pardoned over 1,500 insurrectionists who caused the deaths of 5 law enforcement officers and injuries to 140 of them. This group would have beaten to death the Vice President and the Speaker of the House if they could have found them. When Trump supporters carry out murders, Trump remains silent, as he did when 2 Minnesota legislators and their spouses were shot and 2 died. Trump has no problem with mass shootings such as the Pulse nightclub, they were gay, the El Paso Walmart, they were Hispanic, the Tree of Life Synagogue, they were Jewish, the Buffalo grocery store and Charleston Church, they were black, The arson attack on Governor Josh Stein or when Senator Gabby Giffords was shot in the head. They're Democrats. Trump remained silent on the attempted kidnapping of Governor Gretchen Whitmer and the death of Heather Heyer at the hands of white supremacists. He did not call out when pipe bombs were found at the homes of Biden and Obama. Trump mocked the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. He praised Alex Jones, who called Sandy Hook a hoax, and Rush Limbaugh, who called those who supported women's rights feminazis. When did Trump acknowledge the tragedy of any school shooting? When the neo-Nazis came to the Yorktown battlefield and the white supremacists came to the Tabb Library, our Board of Supervisors told us to ignore them and go shopping. I watched former Sheriff Danny Dick's deputies carry in hate literature for the white supremacy group. Just a few months later, one of those disgusting hate mongers ordered the killing of a judge. Trump is weaponizing Kirk's murder to destroy dissent. As a cult leader, Trump is on a psychotic power trip. It should not be acceptable to anyone to say the shooting deaths of children or dissenters is the cost of maintaining the Second Amendment. Jesus said, "Put the sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword." Stop the unfettered, easy access to firearms and stop teaching your children to hate, and just maybe our world would be in a better place. Right or left, do not stifle dissent. It is a cornerstone of our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, is there anybody else who cares to speak at this time, although you've not signed up? Seeing none, I'll close the citizens' comment period, and we'll move to county attorney reports and requests.
Nothing this evening, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much. County administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Knoll. On assuming the approval of the October 7 agenda, the staff will be going over the legislative priorities. By the end of this week, you all will have a copy. I'd like to ask that you take a look at it and any edits that you'd like to make, that you share that with Mr. Hill or Mr. Fuller so that we'll be ready for the October 7th work session to have that discussion with you. And on Saturday, from 10 to 12 at Grafton Middle School is the 6th annual Bug Fest put on by Mosquito Control and Public Works. So should be able to see some crafts and have some activities, and there's a lot to be learned about all kinds of bugs. Something a little slightly more civilized, October 4th, Saturday here in the village, is the Yorktown Wine and Oyster Festival. So you can go down there and enjoy some wine that's paired with your favorite seafood. So we hope you all will take us up on that.
Thank you.
And I'm open for any questions you might have.
Any questions? Yes?
More of a word of a request. The speaker came up and talked about the business up next to her, I assume that was the residency she was talking about. I would personally like to know, not in this meeting, but how that occurs when we consider those little shrubberies. I know it takes forever. Some of those bushes are never going to grow
I'll
big
be
enough.
happy to tell you.
Yeah, well, I want to know from the staff how such actions like that happen when we put up walls on highways and noise and stuff, and we get person right up next to a business. I've seen this happen before. I personally don't like it. I would like to understand how it happened and if there's anything we can do to mitigate the problem. Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Bellamy, could you mention this Saturday's event, September 20th? I believe it's this weekend, the We the People Festival.
Oh, sure.
Yes. Yes.
Brian, would you mind? You're the subject matter expert, I believe.
I think I had it right.
You did, but that's okay. I'll let you go. Do you have anything?
I'll ask the people behind me that are more experts if I miss anything. So this Saturday is We the People. So it's going to be a great day out here on the historic battlefield, given that hopefully it dries after we get all this rain. But it's a cooperative event between the National Park Service, WHRO, and York County. Ken Burns, the prolific filmmaker and documentarian, has done a series that's going to start to air this fall in November on the American Revolution. So what we're going to be doing this Saturday from 3 till about 7, we're going to have a festive event, lots of things for kids to do, celebrating the American Revolution. out on the National Historic Battlefield. Then when it gets dark at about 7 o'clock, we're going to show the 20 minutes to 30 minutes of that segment that pertains to Yorktown. So you're going to actually see the battlefield documentary on the national battlefield where it happened, which is going to be quite historic and one-of-a-kind type of thing. I don't know that's been done anywhere else in the nation, but we have lots of things for kids to do, families to do. If you came down Cook Road, you would have maybe did a double take and thought it was the 4th of July, because we set up all the orange barricades and cones to park in the battlefield. So you'll park in the battlefield on the corner of Ballard and Cook, where you do on the 4th of July, and just walk across the street to between Readouts 9 and 10 and the Victory Center, and that's where the program will be. The U.S. Army Old Guard is going to come and perform, and they're bringing their full regiment of over 55 fifes and drummers, and they're going to be doing some things with our young fifes and drum as well. So lots of activities, spy games, all kinds of things to do when you come out. There'll be food trucks and food, so it's going to be a big day, and the weather's looking great. So.
Brian, given what the weather's like today, is there any plans if it is a washout?
We have some plans. The weather forecast, so it's supposed to stop raining tomorrow. That'll give us 3 days to dry. We can always fix grass if we need to. You know, anything, we've been told all the scientific studies that they've done on the battlefield, all the historical significant items are 2 feet in the ground.
That's good to hear.
For all the years we've parked on it, we've maybe compacted 6 inches, so it should not be a problem. But we do have some rain plans to shrink the event a little bit and use the hard surface parking in the village.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Brian. Doug?
I had
you-
nothing more
you have
for,
your phone. Wayne, do you have anything you'd like to say?
oh, I'm sorry, for matters before the board.
Matters to the board?
So I just want to say that this past week was very tragic in our country, and I don't think anyone needs to be celebrating the death of anybody. I don't care what side of the fence that you're on. It grieves my heart that something like this would have happened because we disagree with somebody's political views. Our country was founded on principles, and those principles don't use guns to debate. And so I just think that we all need to reflect on what it means to be free in this country, and that's a freedom of speech, irrespective of what side of the aisle you're on politically. So my heart goes out to the Charlie Kirk family and anyone else that was affected by that, and also the gentleman that's been accused of his murder. And I pray he finds Jesus in all of this. So it's just very sad that our country is going through this. We need a reset, and I think we need revival across our country to love our fellow brothers and sisters, irrespective of whether we agree or disagree with their views or values. We're all created equal, and we should try to act like that. Thank you.
Doug?
Madam Chair, I had one item. Mr. Bellamy, some time back, we had talked about doing a study on our restaurants and hotels, particularly in District 1, and getting a baseline comparison of the number of room nights, et cetera, and the amount that we're seeing in terms of food sales. And I just remind us, we're coming up on completion of HTRFA, and we've already seen many weekends booked by incoming sports teams. I'm still looking for that comparison. Just a reminder that we really ought to pull that together before it goes too much further. Thank you.
No.
So,
Yes.
like Mr. Drury was talking about, it's been a difficult week. I didn't know Mr. Kirk, knew of Mr. Kirk, heard some of his speeches. I must be doing something right on social media because the various algorithms would show me snippets from his podcast and debates and so forth. And, you know, I saw somebody there who was very intelligent, very well informed, very knowledgeable, and had a great ability to debate, really a generational talent as far as that goes. And to have him removed from us in the manner he did so publicly and so violently, like Ms. Drew said, this is not who we are as a nation. We can't put ourselves in a position where we can't debate, we can't have conversations, we can't have opposing viewpoints. Yeah, we're not always going to agree. That's okay. But we ought to be able to talk, at least. Maybe talk angrily, but we ought to be able to talk. And also, we ought to be able to feel like we can be safe to get on a bus and ride somewhere home after working all day and not get attacked from behind. Those things need to get corrected. I'm glad I live here in York County, because York County is squared away, but a lot of other places aren't. If we can be an example elsewhere, that's fantastic. Let's be that example. But we got to get better as a country, as a community, as a nationwide community, because we can't have it like this. There is the alternative to not getting it right, to not getting better, is horrific, and none of us wants to live through that. So I hope everybody reflects, thinks about what happened, and find a way we individually, personally, we can all do better. So, thank you.
Sheila?
Yes, Tom?
Am I gonna get my chance?
Yes, you just said, yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. One of the things tied to what he was just saying, and you've heard this about social media and the influence, the radicalization of social media. Now, as an old guy growing up in that age, social media was a phone call. You go down to the McDonald's, hang out, or whatever, someplace like that. I mean, it's a million years ago. But the point in this is that I see that with my grandkids. I see that with a lot of even adults I hang out with. In fact, my daughter restricts my grandkids. The one's 13, doesn't have a phone, and restricts what they can do and what computers they can get on and what they look at. 10-year-old gets none of that. But I watch friends of mine when Charlie Kirk was announced that he had been assassinated. Boy, they had the phones out and they were looking at, Facebook and you name it, Snapchat, everything was going on, and they showed live pictures of the assassination, and it was just a buzz. And the reaction from adults, who some of them were retired, watching this was visceral, but it was visceral in the sense that there was this precipitated a sense of hate and not a calmness. No, it wasn't going to be calm. How could it be calm in that situation? But the point was, I was watching the reaction to the social network, and it has continued to have an influence on people, how they think. Now, I take that over to television. If you sit in front of a television and you pick your favorite channel out, and they have a bias towards one way or another, I guarantee you they'll reach a point where that's having the same effect. And a lot of times I'll just have to get up out of the room, and I just can't stand to listen to this stuff anymore. And I'll go sit on the porch and watch the birds and the deer and everything else just to get away from it. So we as adults have to be aware of our situation. And you have to also be aware of people around you, and you can listen to them. Gives you a clue of any potential danger that might be around. That's for you. We're all having to watch out now. There's no laws that are going to protect you against this. It's that you just need to pay attention to your surroundings, and those surroundings can involve your family, friends, people you never expect. So that's going to be a sad state of affairs. I appreciate the comments people are making about that, because in our society we have to be able to debate, and we have to be able to debate with respect. We have to be able to talk. That's how we come up with ideas. That's how our country came about, although it did come about with violence involved, but that's something we've got to be very, very sensitive to. The respect, the integrity, and talk to people about stuff. Now, on another subject, this was kind of really interesting. So I did a ribbon cutting this week. I think it was this week. Actually, it's already only a couple of days, but anyway. It was called it's called Colonial Coin Shop. Okay, it's up in Williamsburg, and its address 6610 Moortown Road. And this is the first time I've ever done this type of business. But I've always collected coins, you know, kind of here and there. And these people, they really know their stuff when it comes to coins. And the layout is very opening and welcoming. And so I went in there and I just kind of casually started, I've collected some coins that are pretty rare and they're really, really old, ancient coins. And so I just asked, I said, do you have anything that's colonial coins? Yeah, we do. And in that, I ended up buying 2 coins. One was a 1723 halfpenny, and another was about the same time 1775 halfpenny. Now these halfpennies were worth hundreds of dollars, so the inflation had taken over. But man, I'm gonna tell you what, you owning a piece, it just holding that coin, just gave me chills, because it was like I'm holding a piece of our colonial history right there. With and they were not pristine, they're worn, but they're still, it was, you know, they were there. It just felt so, it just felt so spiritual, if you will. So I invite you to go up there. If you have coins or stuff you want to look at, just, you know, mom, grandma, great-grandma, whatever, grandpa gave you some, your parents gave you coins, take them up there. They will talk to you about it. They will tell you the value instead of you sitting there guessing on this stuff. But it's just interesting to see this operation. So it was really different for me. So thank you very much for letting me have the opportunity to do that. There you go, Sheila.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
but-
I couldn't make it to that one.
And I couldn't make it either.
But I'm a
so
stamp collector, so it probably did more
we're
for
all
you.
set. Okay, thank you. I thank you, gentlemen, for your comments. I go back to the very old saying that I think we heard as children, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And I think we've forgotten about that. And I think we need to think before we speak, think before we act, and listen before we talk. And maybe this will be a better world. But fortunately, York County is special, as we've said before, and we don't have that problem here, but we don't want that problem here. So I think we need to reflect on what has happened and vow that it should never happen to anybody else ever again. That's wishful thinking, I know, but better to be wishful thinking than not thinking, so that's enough for that. I had a letter that came to me in the mail from people who attended the fireworks last 4th of July, and they were upset because there was a problem in the fireworks because suddenly they stopped. And people started to leave, and then the fireworks came back on again. And they thought that that might be very dangerous. And the problem was I talked to staff that handled the fireworks last year and found out there was an electronic failure in the fireworks. But it was recognized, and I think there was a little bit of compensation because of the fact that it didn't come off as it should. And I think this year it's going to be better than ever, and I think it'll be guaranteed that they will go through completely. So I hope many of you do enjoy the fireworks the 4th of July. Independence Day is very, very important to each and every one of us. Okay, public hearings. We'll start public hearings. Let's see, what time is it? Oops.
About 30 minutes from now.
I can't believe we've actually gotten through it, and it's only 7:30. We'll take a 5-minute break.
You want to do consent
What?
calendar?
What?
You jump to the consent calendar?
Oh, good move. Consent calendar, that's what we'll do. Okay. On the consent calendar, number 9 is to participate in nationwide settlement of opioids. That's a proposed resolution R25-143 approving the county's participation in the proposed settlements of opioid-related claims against several drug companies. Number 10 is procurement of law enforcement and analytics platform. Consider the adoption of proposed resolution R25-127 to authorize the county administrator to take all necessary actions to purchase law enforcement analytic technology, software, and interface platforms. Number 11, Queens Lake Spillway Improvement and Dam Rehabilitation. Consider adoption of proposed resolution R25 1142, to authorize the county administrator to conduct contract with Howard Brothers Contractor for the Queens Lake Spillway Improvements and Dam Rehabilitation Project. Number 12 is establishing a formal structure for program governance. I'll move on. No, that's it. And that is proposed resolution R25-129. Does anybody care to pull any, to talk about them?
Number 10, please.
Number 10. Anybody else have another one? If not, let's talk about number 10.
I just comment on number 12. I've been through the Head Start.
You want 12?
I'll just comment on it, yeah.
Okay. So who's going to talk about the procurement of the law enforcement and analytics platform?
Ma'am, Sheriff is here.
I see you here.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. This is a software that we're looking at. It's the same company that we're considering right now primarily that does our flock camera system. Currently, what the issue is we have several silos of fairly large amounts of information in the county, particularly on my side, on the sheriff's office, that collect a lot of data that don't talk to each other. We have the RMS system, which is the report management system that we had for 22 years before we converted to Motorola's RMS system in December of 2023. We've had that one since then, and the CAD. All the information has come into CAD over all of these years. Then we have the flock cameras themselves, we have the Axon body cameras, and we have the in-car videos, as well as some of the cameras down on the waterfront we would like to have access to. So essentially what this software will do is it'll sit down on top of all of these silos of information and pull all of this data together rather quickly. We've seen demonstrations of this, and it's been demonstrated in agencies across the country. And it's, in some places, it's had some fairly dramatic results as far as solving crime a whole lot faster. For example, if we were working a crime and Mr. Stephen Rohn was the suspect, we could type his name into the search engine with this block of software that sits down on top, and all of those places that I just described, the old 22 years worth of data, the new RMS system, the CAD, body camera, anytime his name was mentioned, all of those things would be pulled together in one specific place very quickly, so that investigators and deputies, if they're working crimes, will have all of this information available within a matter of seconds, as opposed to sometimes days to go through a lot of this information. So this system was just discovered by us recently. Unfortunately, it was after the budget. That's why we're coming to with you at this point in time. But it's a very valuable piece of equipment, and it will certainly enhance the sheriff's office ability to solve crime much quicker and much more efficiently if we purchase this system.
Thank you, Sheriff Montgomery, and I definitely understand the need to integrate those discrete data sources together as in a single interface so you can pull data like you need quickly. My question was, it looks like we're going to engage in a 3-year contract, and that contract includes interface development, I'm assuming by the professional services of whatever company that we engage with. Is that interface, do you know if that interface development is good for the entire 3 years or just the initial setup? Because just pulling on prior experience for myself, I know as time goes on, you find new ways you want data pulled and how to interface with the system. And I'm hoping the contract covers that development all 3 years and not just the initial startup.
It does.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It does cover it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's actually done by Motorola. And
It's done by Motorola.
I'm sorry I jumped in front of you there, Sheriff. I just knew from having this conversation with Mr. Hall that was the case.
Okay, so we'll be able to engage them whenever, well, the sheriff's department will be able to engage them whenever they see a need for a change.
Well, the data that I just described is the first phase of this. This is actually a project that's going to go on for quite some time. The beauty of this company is the other software modules that will go along with it. For example, it's been a vision of mine for a while to have what's called Live 911. That, God forbid, we had an active shooter event somewhere here in the county. This system will allow deputies that are in the field to hear the call simultaneously as it comes into the 911 center, reducing the amount of time that a call taker has to take the call, send it over to a dispatcher. Sometimes that can save minutes, and in sometimes active shooter situations, those minutes are critical. There's other components of this as well They're going to interface with the CAD system down the road that's going to enhance their abilities as well. So this is a fairly large project. It'll probably take, I'm guessing, months to implement this, maybe as much as a year. But the initial portion of it that I described, pulling in all of that data for the sheriff's office, will be the first phase, and it could happen within a matter of 60 to 90 days.
Okay, all right.
Sheriff, I had one question.
Go ahead.
You've added the funding will come through asset forfeiture budget, and I'm wondering whether that makes it rev. Should this be R 25-127R?
Where's the?
The last, what did you say at the end?
Well, should it be a revision to the original?
Oh, I didn't
Because
get a
we've
chance to
added
look
the
at it.
funding source as the asset forfeiture.
So what do we do? Okay, so what's changing? Is it changing it to or from a revenue source? I mean,
It's changing to,
and that's different than what was in there?
it was blank on
Where, I
that
don't see
before.
it on this one.
Well, I mean, you
It
know,
is
I don't
the,
Oh, okay. Thank you. Is there sufficient funds in the asset forfeiture fund?
There is, but that was, I'm going to defer that question to Mr. Bellamy, that we've had these discussions.
Okay. One of
So,
the things
Miss-
that, if I could just continue, you know, one of the things that I thought about, this is an excellent program, I'm sure, moving forward. But it's not an immediate need. It is a need that we're looking forward to improve for the future. And I wondered why it could not be in the budget for next year.
Well, in
That
some
way
ways,
you wouldn't have to touch the money that you have now.
in some ways, I would disagree that it's not an immediate need, because these investigations, a lot of times, when we have to go through these three sources of data on a regular basis, they can be extended periods of time. And the beauty of this is that we would now be able to solve major crimes, burglaries, rapes, robberies, murders, much faster, and the statistics from agencies around the country that have this software show that. So I would say, from a public safety perspective, that the faster we can solve these crimes and put people in jail, the less likely it is that they'll be repeat offenders and do additional crimes. So I would say that this is a very necessary piece of equipment or software today.
So you're comfortable with it coming out of the asset forfeiture funding then?
If that's what it takes, yes, ma'am.
But
And we
the
have
que-
sufficient funds for that.
But Sheila, the question that I have tied to this is, as it was stated right up front, I think Sheriff said it, was that you didn't know about it at the time, now you're making the request.
That's correct.
340,000. And that's this year's funding?
No, that's a three-year, that's
Okay,
a three-year cost.
so normally that would have probably been in the CIP somewhere, right? Okay, so I
But
guess
it's
the one
not.
question, looking at the county administrator, is, I know it's a small amount compared to the total budget, but I assume we have adequate
Yes,
funds to
sir.
cover this
We
request?
do.
Okay.
we do.
Out
And-
of the asset forfeiture money?
We have the funds available, yes.
Well, is there asset
There are,
forfeiture
there's a
taking place right
number.
now?
That's a
with
good
this?
use for the money.
But is that being done now?
Do what?
I mean, okay, when you talk about the forfeiture funds, if you will, other than paying for the part we have through the flock camera and how that is being used to distribute revenue for various programs, right? I mean,
No,
that's-
flock cameras are not revenue generating, the school radar cameras
School
are the
radars
ones that do
themselves.
that. Flock
Well, is
cameras
this-
are the
well,
license plate
So is that
readers.
all, is this all going into that same pile of money, same fund? Because what Sheila's asking about, the forfeiture assets are, you know, is that gonna fund this? Where is that coming from then?
Well, asset forfeiture funds come
Drugs
from the
and
federal
whatever.
government and from the state when we take drug assets and their monetary or real estate from them, and then the proceeds are forfeited to us.
So
That's where those, that's
I
where
mean,
those
that's
funds.
there, but it's not something you routinely plan to have. It's
No,
gonna
you
happen.
can't, you can't say long-term, no.
Right. Okay. It's not like the school, speeding revenue.
Okay. Thank you.
The answer to my question?
I was,
Yes,
I
go
was
ahead.
trying not to be rude again and
Please
jump in
do.
front of somebody. The answer to your question, and I'll ask Mr. Hill to confirm this, the resolution is the same resolution, the original resolution. That's what they're approving. The memo was changed. This is a second version of it. So it's really the resolution that we're approving, so no R is necessary. That is correct. I just wanted someone other than myself to say that.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any other questions?
On number 12.
Number 12, yes.
I just wanted to make a statement that I've been
Please
through
do.
the budget for the Head Start program. I'm quite involved with that group, and we've had a very thorough review of the budget for Head Start, and
Head
this is a
Start.
yearly requirement for it to come forward for approval, and I'm just pleased to support them in that effort.
Mr. Horwath, how many participants are there now this
I
year?
think it's 88, 87 or 88.
And
children.
what's our threshold?
That's it.
So we're
We're
pretty,
at our
that's- I
max.
thought we were there, okay,
We've reached
good,
the max the last 2 years running.
good.
Okay, would anybody care to move the consent calendar?
I'll move it.
Roll call, please.
The motion made by Mr. Shepherd is to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Yes.
Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. I think public hearings start at 7 o'clock. I'm going to take a break. We'll be back in about
At 7 o'clock.
12. No.
Come to it? or
Well,
can I-
I'm going to invite you to it. I'll
Okay,
forward you
great.
an invite so you can get it on your
Oh,
calendar.
did you send it to me?
I'll do it right now.
Great, thank you.
The Board of Supervisors meeting will come back to order. The first public hearing that we have is application, I'm going to forget that one. Consider adoption of proposed ordinance number 25-21 to approve the amendment to the recreation area standards within another section. And I see that you got it tonight. Thank you. Caitlin.
Thank you. Forgive my voice, I'm coming off a little cold, so it might be a little raspy, so apologies for that.
Before you talk,
Yes.
I want to say, I'm so sorry that you're leaving us. You have done a super job while you've been here, and I understand the reasons behind it because the commute is so long. But please come back anytime that you possibly can. We'd love to see you.
Thank you, ma'am, I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
All right, so we're coming off a public hearing that was continued from your August meeting. This was kind of a dual-part text amendment. So what was being considered was amending the recreation requirements for plan developments and the performance standards for cluster subdivision development. Following last meeting, my understanding from the board was there was general concurrence about the proposed amendments for recreation requirements for planned developments. What was sought was a little more clarity on the performance standard changes for cluster developments, and then specific questions regarding parking in terms of the gross acreage proposal, what other localities did, what did we study, and other data. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight, which was also in your read ahead, and then we're going to just round out with the conclusion and what our recommendation is. So just as a little refresher, I want to show again just another visual of a cluster development and a conventional. So this is a cluster subdivision right across 64. You can see there's the open space and then the lots which are clustered.
Caitlin, when in your discussion on this and description,
Yes.
and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but the cluster development has kind of like another couple categories underneath it, like a planned development or you know,
No, sir. Cluster development is just the technique for a type of subdivision. So it isn't planned development, though. That's something you would rezone into. So this is
right.
just.
Okay, I
yeah.
just want that.
Yeah.
So we don't under the cluster development we don't rezone.
Not to use the technique, no. This is something you
Okay,
can do if
all
you
right.
have like a by right residential property. You can do this.
Thank you, then.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here highlighted in the green, you probably see Queens Lake here and then Royal Colvin. These are conventional subdivision. You'll notice there, it's just street and parent parcel broken up, no common area, and you don't have any open space preservation. So back at the beginning of the year, when we were getting ready to start our draft amendments and take those to the Planning Commission, as staff, we did a couple of things, because this was kind of a big look at this piece of code and analysis of, okay, what are we gonna do here in looking at the performance standards? So a couple of things we did when preparing the draft. We ran a spatial analysis, and this was, again, going back to that gross acreage question. Well, okay, where are the parcels in the county that are between 5 and 10 acres or more than 10 acres, looking at lower and upper county? And those maps were provided in your read ahead in August. I'm gonna come back to them. I have them as presentation as well. But again, doing that spatial analysis, okay, where's the actual parcels that you could possibly do this? Looking at past cluster developments, we would just want to kind of look at, again, because we also had some recreation components, but again, looking at the items of, okay, well, how were these developed since the mid-90s? What was the common form, common acreage, common open space? Just to get a good grip of what's been done and what could we look at moving forward. And then looking at other localities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that piece here. So we looked at a couple different places. We looked at both cities and counties. We looked near us, and we also looked a bit in the northwestern part of the state. And you know, interestingly, where people have these developments in their actual ordinances is really all over the place. Some people have it in their subdivision ordinance. Some places it's actually like an overlay district, so very different, but common things were things, you know, again, one of the core questions we asked is, okay, if we're looking at taking the gross acreage in which you can employ cluster subdivision as a development technique, and we're looking at reducing that minimum gross acreage from 10 to 5 acres. On our neighboring localities, what's the minimum acreage? What is that number? And so I'm going to highlight a few. We looked at James City County, Gloucester, City of Franklin, Suffolk, and Rico County. And what was interesting is James City and Franklin both require 5 minimum acres. Suffolk requires 10. Gloucester and Rico don't have a minimum. That's spelled out explicitly in their standards that they require for cluster subdivision. At the northern and northwestern counties, we looked at Loudoun, Culpeper County, and Shenandoah. Shenandoah actually had a range from 5 to 32 acres minimum, just depends on the zoning district. Culpeper is 5 minimum acres, and Loudoun did not have a minimum acreage. So I want to talk about this gross acreage question because that was a topic that kind of circulated last meeting. And this didn't really, the idea for this didn't originate in a vacuum. It kind of comes from the comprehensive plan. This is from the environmental element. And the discussion here was large tracts of land in the county for residential development are becoming less. Either they're getting built out, or they're being conserved, or they're zoned commercially. To preserve open space, what is a technique that we can look at? And one of the suggestions is, again, reducing the gross acreage from 10 to 5 for cluster development to promote more open space preservation when doing your residential development. The other piece of data I mentioned, that's spatial analysis. And these maps, the hard copies, were in your August packet. I want to bring them up here just to kind of show you guys what we looked at. We looked at occupied and vacant parcels over 5 acres. What we did not include in these maps are properties that were owned by the Park Service or owned by the cities of Newport News or Williamsburg for watershed. You'll notice our parcels way up here in Baytree Beach are not on there because they're mostly marsh. They're not going to be developed. Right up here. Things that were also in perpetual conservation easements, so they're owned by the Battlefield Trust or they're conserved for nature, things like that, were not included. So these are really parcels that could be developed. And we did both occupied and vacant because if you have a home on, say, a 10-acre piece of property, you could subdivide that. So we want to make sure we're capturing both sets of data here. What was interesting about this was on its face, and you'll see this in the table that was in your August read ahead, it looks like a lot of parcels, but if you actually look at the geometry of some of these properties, they're over 5 acres, they're really long and skinny. So just by way of example, or my kind of hovering my cursor here, unless all these homeowners all decided at the same time, we're all gonna sell our houses to the same guy and have it be developed, which I'm not saying you couldn't do that, it's highly unlikely, that these individually on their own would be developed as cluster developments. The geometry doesn't work. It's the same with this one right here. And we see a lot of that. Again, the gross acreage of the thing is over 5 or 10, but it's shaped in such a way that that technique is not viable.
So are they viable, though, for a traditional, like a family subdivision or traditional subdivision?
Some of them for traditional, possibly not. For any subdivision you do, you have to have a 50 to divide. And so let's just say you have a parcel, again, long and skinny, and the frontage of it is on Dare Road, but it's only maybe 60 feet wide. You have to put in a 50-foot right-of-way if you're going to create new lots. And so, you can't have a 10-foot wide lot resulting. So some of them, they're just narrow and they can't support having a public right-of-way, and you need that even for kind of conventional subdivision.
So it looks like a lot of those that you were highlighting are really somebody could put their own home up there, but that's it.
Yeah.
So they would, but I mean, I'm looking at, further down in the ordinance, you talk about the size of the lots. I mean, could we, we see like 20 feet between a house, but you could have a house that's not, maybe it could only be like 1,500 square feet, 1,300 square feet. So I'm looking at affordable housing, right? So then you have strip where you can have affordable housing on it, where the housing doesn't take up, it could be the same number of houses for 5 acres, but they just are smaller houses.
And you possibly could, the one thing that's always required is, again, that 50-foot right-of-way, and you do have some minimum dimensions, the 30-foot front setback. You mentioned that, the 20-foot separation. So, again, you have a lot of lots, especially in the lower county, that are just, because they're old, they're kind of cut up a little oddly, and they're not likely to be divided again because you just can't make it work. So we did this spatial analysis for the upper county too. You see there's a bit more larger tracts up here. I want to point out, we saw the same thing again, weird, let's call them strip lots for lack of a better word. You have larger parcels. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry?
Could you go back to the other?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We didn't have it on our screen while you were talking.
Oh, there you go.
No, it's still not on our screen.
It's back behind there. It's up there.
I can't see it from there. Can we get it on the camera?
Camera needs to
Yeah,
put
they-
the map up.
Our AV guys need to move it up to the screen here.
Yeah, you're right, it's not on the screen.
I go back there and rattle her cage.
Here.
Now
Nope,
we're
no,
blank.
Now we get nothing.
No,
There you go, there it is.
now we have it.
There we go.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
no worries.
So they're almost all 10 to 49 acres,
I'm not sure what we're
from
looking
what I
at
can
here.
see of that map.
Same map.
There's more, as you probably are well aware, a preponderance of larger parcels. I will say what
Same different.
would restrict development up in the upper county is the utilities, lack of public sewer or public water. You can't do cluster subdivision if you have a well or septic or both. It's not, you have a minimum, like it's an acre to 2 acres. So that's gonna preclude, and until those areas ever got public water or sewer, they're not gonna develop in that manner.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That was just my little zoom in, but, oh, good. All right. There was a question asked last meeting about parking and a concern expressed about parking in cluster developments, given the size of the yard, which again, the minimum's 30 feet, and then we have a de facto side yard. You have to have 10 feet or 20 feet between buildings, so you get a 10-foot side yard out of that. What we noticed as staff, and I'll have a couple of photos here just to share, is that parking tends not to be, in our experience, we've seen a problem in single-family detached subdivisions that are by right. So this is from Foxwood. I wanted to show pictures of just lots of different sizes and driveways of different sizes. This is from Waller Mill Heights. You can see some of the cars parked there and the driveways. And this one's from Sherwood Forest, again, trying to show where the cars are sitting on the lots. And so what we see in, again, single-family residential subdivisions is that the depth of the yard, the side yards, and the fact that these have to have public streets that are built to VDOT standard to accommodate parking on both sides tend not to have parking issues. Where we did see the issues is in the multifamily, the townhouse developments, the planned developments. And so that's what really drove the effort in July to amend the parking, where you can't count the garage as a parking space. You have to have 2 spaces that are on the driveway at a minimum. And that's what drove that effort, was the issues we had with the townhouses.
Do we find out, and do we see in the townhouses, they have an HOA? If they have, well, if they have a mandatory HOA if they have someone, if they have common grounds. But do most of them have some restrictions on parking? I mean, I don't even know how they could apply it, but, because I mean, I'm in an HOA that says you can't park it on the street. Well, there's the old argument, who owns the street? The state versus the HOA.
You're right, yeah, if they're private streets that the HOA controls versus public streets. And in the case of public streets, that's VDOT, you know this. So if the street is wide enough to accommodate parking per VDOT standard, now they do have the process where they can come to you and ask for a secondary no parking restriction. So there's a process to do that if they want to do that, where that you guys would consider that. But on secondary public highways, you're correct that.
But in our townhouses, communities, who owns the streets mostly? Is that VDOT?
It depends. We have some that have public streets. We have some that are entirely private streets. It's dependent on the development.
I think only one in my district has private streets.
It has to be a certain width.
Okay.
Caitlin, I had a question. It was
Yeah.
regarding Fenton Mill, because we've allowed clustering there. A lot of the lots are 0.1 acres or less. And so my question is, what do we have for driveways in that location? Is it the double width driveway that you've shown?
They're
on
going
these
to
other-
need, yeah, they're going to need to do that because, again, we have that parking standard where they have to provide the off-street parking, the 2 spaces off-street, and they have to show that. They have to have, the driveway's got to be big enough to do that.
Okay, so we've covered that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Is that detached?
They're
That-
detached,
Detached homes
but
are-
they're, you could touch your neighbor. They're that
So,
close.
so that comes back to my, we're talking
HOAs
about
now.
cluster development, but that kind of development, sounds like that's, it's like a planned development. I mean, when you, although, I don't know if there was any rezoning into it, but that's always, when I see these, I don't know, I'm using the wrong term. There's 2 terms we could use for this. There's one, and they come under planned development of some type.
Well, it was originally a rezoning request for PDMU, planned development mixed use.
Mixed use, okay.
That was turned down, so they went with by right, on rural residential, so it's 1 per acre. But now they've applied clustering to put all those houses closer together to provide more green space.
But a planned development,
It's
you
the
can
same
have,
number
you
of
can have as
houses.
high as 10 houses per acre. I mean, yeah, right? Planned development?
Depends how it's zoned.
But, well,
Yeah, but this is,
Yeah, PD, so
this
one
is
of,
a cluster discussion, so I was,
I don't know,
I was
but it's kind of putting it all in
zoning-
perspective. though.
zeroing in on the parking associated with examples
Right.
that we have for clusters. Thank you.
yeah, so, you know, what we're discussing tonight, again, planned development doesn't have an inherent, I'll just say gross acreage associated with it necessarily. What we're talking about here has the gross acreage, and again, the density is tied to the underlying zoning district. So if it's zoned rural residential, and it's the same number of houses,
Okay.
conventional or cluster. No, you can't get more houses out of a cluster subdivision than you can a conventional.
Any more questions?
So, yeah, a couple of things. One, give us more details on the green space requirements in a cluster development. Because one of the benefits of cluster developments is we get more green space, the required recreational space. Highlight that a little bit more, please.
Absolutely. So cluster developments, 40% of the gross acreage has to be reserved as common open space at a minimum. And part of that total open area, you also have recreational amenities that need to be provided. And so we are tweaking that a little bit because, again, previously it was a bit prescriptive in that you had to have a playground and a picnic bench and a field. What our discussion was okay, if we're going to propose lowering the gross acreage, you have much smaller subdivisions of 5 or 6 lots, you know, and the discussion was, can they support those amenities? And so we tweaked the language to kind of reflect and be similar to what we did in plan development, which is the active and passive language with the suggested amenities, less prescriptive, and offering flexibility for developments of different sizes and what would be appropriate for the particular development.
But that's something you give with a cluster development that's not required in a normal development.
Conventional development does not require open space or recreation
All right,
components.
and the last thing, you touched upon it just a minute ago, but I just want to make perfectly clear that cluster development, whether it's 10 acres or 5 acres threshold, whatever the case may be, does not increase the number of homes
That's correct.
on the property.
That's correct.
So just decreasing from 10 to 5, still the same number of homes that you
Yes.
could develop,
Yes.
whatever is zoned for.
Yes.
We're not increasing that. So it really comes down
Yes.
to a market-driven decision on the developer's perspective, whether they want to develop something that's open for a regular planned development for potential customers, or cluster for customers who may prefer that. So it gets to be more market-driven, but we don't end up with more houses on the same piece of land. So,
No,
okay.
sir.
All right, thank you.
But when we do, it's usually a planned development. I mean, that's why the tie over, it gets a little confusing, but like Smith Farms is a great example of that. They had to come in for a rezoning. Now, I don't know if that was cluster development to start off with, but they came in and they had a rezoning to get more houses per acre. Because we did put more houses on that property.
Well, they rezoned to R20, which is
Yeah.
a more dense zoning district. It's half-acre lots, right? And so you have more houses because they're now a more dense zoning district. They rezoned into that. The mechanism of which they're developing is technically by right. But you're correct, yeah, they came in for a rezoning to rezone to R20, more dense.
But so when they got the rezoning, did they then go to a cluster development?
They chose to do cluster developments,
Right.
yes.
Okay, this is where, I know it sounds crazy, and you guys know this by heart, but we don't live it every day. And that's why, knowing, when we start talking about this, the category, cluster development, planned use development, planned development, mixed use, all these things all have different meanings, and
Yeah.
densities and rezonings and everything else. So it's you guys do a great job of keeping it straight. So, all right, cool.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Are you, Caitlin, are you finished, or are you on conclusion?
Oh, my conclusion was just, quick reminder, kind of circling back to the plan development and then what we're doing here. A lot of it's actually just clarifying formatting or pieces of language that weren't very clear, and we're trying to make it a bit more clear or readable, and then updating a few things just because land use patterns of development change, needs change, market conditions change, as Mr. Brown referred to. We're just trying to reflect those efforts here. Quick refresher, Planning Commission did consider this and recommend approval 4-0 with 1 abstaining. And so we have ordinance 2521 before you tonight. We're recommending approval of that in its current form. I'm here to take any questions or other questions you have about the ordinance tonight. And thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing now, and I have A.T. Hamilton signed up. Name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Thank you. A.T. Hamilton. I am Alexander Hamilton. 100 Hounds Chase, Yorktown, Virginia, 23693. And yes, was named after Alexander Hamilton. I'm up here to support the application ZT 211-25. I'm the one that Mrs. Knoll talked about last time with the project. We're looking at doing something. We've got 9.3 acres, which is just under the 10 acres. And just like Caitlin said, the people on each side, both of them passed away. Their families don't really want to sell at this point in time. So we're kind of stuck. And we can't move forward unless this application is approved. And that's basically all I have. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll close the public. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this? If not, I'll close the public. Aha. Please come forward. Name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Good evening. Ron Struble, 205 Shady Bluff Point, Williamsburg. That's in York County, actually. First of all, I also heard about Caitlin departing tonight, and I'm really sad to hear that. I think I've said this before, but the difference in the communication in the planning department that I've experienced with Caitlin and Earl in the last year has been phenomenally improved, and has resulted, I think, in a lot of more cohesiveness and understanding of the community of what's been going on. And I appreciate, Caitlin, what you've done. And sometimes the board can be tough, and you're just as tough up here, so I appreciate that. I hate that takes my 3 minutes, but I won't go the full 3 minutes. I talked last time about this ordinance, and there's a lot in here to like. 98% of it, I believe, is great. And I held up the picture of tranquility in that buffer issue, and I understand that will be corrected in this ordinance. So that corrected a problem. This is going to correct the problem. What I'm hearing here, though, on this 5 acre to 10 acre, I'm just sitting here thinking, what problem are we fixing here in this reduction down to 5? It sounds like we're trying to pass a significant change to the ordinance that could open up additional clustering, so to speak, in order to fix one situation, perhaps. Could that situation not be fixed with a rezoning or a special use permit or something other than changing the entire ordinance to allow this? That's my first question. And the second thing, and I may have misheard Caitlin when she said this, but if someone has 9 acres and they have a small house on it, do they then have the right to take that house off of there and then put a whole bunch more houses on in the cluster concept? You say no, but I think I heard that. So I just want to make sure that's not accurate. That someone with a small house could tear down their house and use that 9 acres and put 4 or 5, 6 houses on that property, because that would be increasing the number of houses that are allowed, outside of the comprehensive plan. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. If I, the density problem one, go ahead.
So, and I'm just speaking about, like, Ms. Struber reference, I made the hypothetical of I could have a occupied piece of property that's 9 acres, and let's say it's zoned rural residential. I could choose to tear down my house and subdivide it conventionally, because the zoning district I'm in
Right.
mandates an acre. So what the cluster development does is gives you an option of, instead of doing it conventional where each lot is of size and there's no open space, you can cluster and do open space. Does that answer the question adequately?
But no additional housing over what the code allows or the
No,
zoning
sir.
area allows.
No.
So in that scenario, you have a piece of property, you have a home on it. It could be 1 acre, it could be 20 acres. But they could still subdivide it today and develop it with additional homes. So if it's rural residential, that means they could put up to 20 homes on that 20 acres if they chose to. Okay.
Or you have 9 acres, you can come back for rezoning if it's R1,
No.
and then put your 20 houses up that way.
When the county has done the comprehensive plan and when you've done the zoning on the property, it doesn't matter, it's the size of the lot and how many homes you would put on it, regardless of whether they put one home on it or the number of homes that they could do on it. You figure the density could be, what I'm trying to say, the density is there, whether it be
Yeah.
one house or 5 houses, you've already accommodated for the density.
Yeah, and that's correct. And, you
That's
see
right.
this on our land use map. We have the areas where we say it's
Yes.
low density, high density.
Right. Yes.
Caitlin, you had given us a table that showed the number of lots that could potentially benefit from clustering. And if I just pick the rural residential zoning, there's about 100 between vacant and or occupied lots. But the comment you made earlier was that utilities aren't provided for a large number of these. Do you have any sense for how many of that list of 100 could actually be developed? Is it 50? Is it 30?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't have time to drill down that far into being able to parse out in the GIS, which had like public well and sewer super comprehensively. And there's other factors like environmental, right? Or is it all wetlands, things like that. So I can produce that for you if you'd like, absolutely. I didn't drill down to that level of detail, though. That was like just the high level, okay, rough gross acreage.
50 of them were in Williamsburg, so District 1, and it strikes me that a large number of that group would be ineligible.
You're probably correct, yes.
Okay.
So if you had public sewer, if you don't have public sewer, you're on a
right.
septic system. That drives the density of your houses also.
Yeah, so if you are on any kind of, like, if you're on well, public, or septic, or if you don't have, my point being, if you don't have public sewer or water,
Can't do
you have to have really large lot sizes because you need that for a septic tank. So you can't use cluster subdivision.
Yeah, I thought it used to be restricted to 1 acre or something like that. I remember when Dandy.
Used to be 2 acres.
Right.
Or something like that, but it required, when Dandy got its sewer, then that allowed for greater density of the housing.
Yes.
One question on, I don't think any of this will affect family subdivision, would it? I think
No.
of one house, it doesn't change the density or
Nope.
anything, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Caitlin. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this subject? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. And what is the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'll move it.
Right.
But I just want to say to the staff, we've all, if you read through this thing, this was a hard job to do. It was a lot of stuff.
It was a hard job to read it.
Yes, it is.
So they did a great
Very
job.
definitely.
All right, so, yeah, I'll move it, so.
Okay. The ordinance 25-21 has been moved. Roll call, please.
The motion made by Mr. Shepherd is to adopt proposed ordinance number 25-21 to approve amendments to the zoning ordinance as presented. Mr. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. The next application is to consider the adoption of proposed resolution 25-144 to authorize fortune-telling services at 7812 George Washington Memorial Highway. And who is presenting it?
Hi, my name is Madison Scaff. I'm the new planner in the planning division. So it's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be before you all tonight.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, the only thing I can say is just speak up.
Got it. All right. Is this better?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this application submitted by Jacqueline Marks is a request for a special use permit to authorize fortune-telling services at 7812 George Washington Memorial Highway. The subject property is zoned general business and is designated GB in the comprehensive plan. North of the property is the York Assembly of God Church and the future clubhouse for Yorktown Crescent, both zoned planned development. East is an undeveloped lot proposed for 43 additional townhouses for Yorktown Crescent, zoned PD. South is an undeveloped lot, zone GB, and west of the site across Route 17 is property zone GB, where J&K Heating and Cooling is located. The site consists of a 3.8 acre parcel containing 2 buildings with different business uses. The southerly building contains the Army Navy tattoo shop, and the northerly building houses the applicant's Psychic Chakra shop and a vacant retail unit. The applicant is seeking authorization to operate a Psychic Chakra shop. For those of you who don't know what a Psychic Chakra shop is, it's a business that offers services such as psychic readings through tarot card readings or mediumship, and chakra balancing, which is a spiritual healing practice focused on aligning the body's energy centers. The applicant has been operating under a business license since 2021 that allows for the sale of retail candles, stones, jewelry, clothing, and services for a chakra healing session. A recent site visit found the addition of fortune-telling services, which requires a special use permit in the general business district. This request seeks to bring the business into zoning compliance. The services offered include chakra balancing, psychic readings, tarot card readings, meditation support, spiritual life coaching, and Reiki energy healing. The shop is also offering retail sales of metaphysical items such as crystals, incense, candles, and natural wellness products. The business operates by appointment only. The proposed business offers a unique service to the local residents and supports the county's broader goals of encouraging small business development, thus aligning the county's vision of welcoming entrepreneurial activity via the comprehensive plan. The parking requirements for the business/professional service is a minimum of 1 off-street parking space per 350 square feet of gross floor areas and 1 off-street loading space. The applicant's business occupies approximately 480 square feet, thus resulting in a minimum requirement of 2 parking spaces. To comply with these requirements, the applicant has proposed to stripe the parking area to include 5 standard spaces and 1 handicap space. The applicant has already completed this process. As for the signage, the original design approved under the previous permit is no longer in use, and the current signage has not been formally approved. To ensure consistency with the county's permitting procedures, a new sign permit is required for the existing sign face. So in conclusion, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to operate a Psychic Chakra shop that will bring the owner into compliance with the zoning ordinance. The proposed conditions of approval include the owner obtaining an updated business license that includes the fortune-telling services offered, striping of parking spaces, and obtaining a sign face change permit for the current sign design. Due to the considerations and conclusions as noted, staff recommends approval of this application subject to the conditions set forth in proposed resolution number R25-144, and the Planning Commission voted 6-0 for approval. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here to also answer any questions you may
Yes.
have.
I
Mr.
gotta
Shepherd.
ask this. Okay, so what requires a special use?
Yeah, so the zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for fortune-telling services.
For
if they're-
fortune telling, seriously,
Yes.
seriously.
Well,
Oh my God. So they're not selling, what is it,
tarot card?
or no, selling, what is it, pipes or
Incense?
or incense or any drugs or anything like that there that's legal, but,
No.
I mean, they're not selling adult toys or any of that stuff, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
I just don't understand. It's good. So is psychic readings, is that also considered could that be considered a home-based business?
It's
No.
I just don't,
No.
okay, so I mean, there's.
It could be, but it's not
All
in
right,
our
so I'm
home.
not, okay, it's in our zoning, okay, great. That's just something to me, it's
Is the
kind of a
applicant
nuisance.
here?
Yes.
Okay.
Would she care to come speak?
Of course.
Thank you. Now you can ask questions of the applicant.
Hi,
Someone show
Jacqueline
me.
Marks. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, what was
Anybody
your
have any
question?
questions of the applicant? Tom?
I don't have any questions, I'm just surprised that this rises to the level of a special use.
It was
Because I don't
definitely-
see where the, I mean, you're not doing voodoo or
No.
kind of stuff down like that,
No.
so I'm not sure what's going on here. But that's okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
I do have a couple questions
Oh,
for.
Staff or the
For staff, for staff.
Oh,
So we're being asked to approve the special use permit for fortune telling, but there's also requirements for signage, and what was you had 3 bullet points a minute
Oh,
ago.
yeah, let me go back. Yes.
So, okay, so those are, all right, so if we approve this, those requirements have to be met following their approval.
Correct.
Okay, so we're not approving any of that, we're just approving the special use permit.
Correct.
Okay, all right. The signage, the current signage, is that in compliant with the code, with the way those lights are, or does that sign have to change? No, I think they got a new.
They have to do a
they
new
have
sign.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
It-
They
It's
said
not
the
a
sign
monument
face
sign.
change permit is one
Well,
of the
yeah,
3.
but because they've changed it, so they gotta put a permit in for the change that they already did, but I'm asking, is the current sign that they have up now, that they're asking to get a permit for, is that sign compliant?
So since it's a pre-existing sign, and they just changed the face of it, the structure's kind of grandfathered in a sense.
Okay,
So it's
okay,
really
that's-
only when you like take the foundation down,
Okay.
then you have to be in compliance.
Okay, that explains it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Open the public hearing. Anybody care to speak to this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And what's the pleasure of the board?
I just wanted to comment on that. I've had the experience of having to bring in a Taoist monk
Have you?
to address a ghost in the building issue, and it was successful, and the ghost disappeared. So I think I can support this.
Did you get a special use permit to do that?
I had to have a special hot work permit for the candles.
Would you like to move this?
I'll move this R25-144.
Roll call, please.
The motion made by Mr. Holroyd is to adopt proposed resolution number R25-144 to authorize fortune-telling services at 7812 George Washington Memorial Highway. Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4. Caitlin, I think you've got it.
What are we going to do without you?
We're going to get all we can from you tonight.
It's housekeeping amendments.
All right, one last time. So we have another batch of housekeeping amendments for you tonight. You might recall we did this last year around this time, and we're doing it again this year. So we're just looking at some sections of the subdivision and zoning ordinance and updating some things, adding a new use, doing some housekeeping, if you will. I'm going to start with Chapter 25. That's where our subdivision ordinance is. You might recall when budget was being done this year, there were some new fees. Some of those new fees were for archaeological studies, phase 1, 2, or 3 studies, because the Department of Historic Resources does not review those anymore. So when a developer submits one in conjunction with the development, we have to send it to a consultant. So the deposit for the phase 1, 2, or 3 studies were to cover those costs. However, there are other archaeological studies, there's supplements to phase studies that we receive, and this happened recently where we also had to pass that to the consultant. So we're just adding an other category that's going to kind of cover those other archaeological documents or studies that aren't in a phase 1, 2, or 3 study. As you might be aware, the state code changed this July, and one of those changes was to site plan and subdivision review timelines. In the subdivision ordinance, we're just bringing it into compliance with the state code. That initial review timeline is now 40 days. Subsequent submittals within 30 days. You'll see we struck out a piece about the state agency review timeline. To be honest, in the state code, it's a little muddy and it varies depending on what kind of review it is. So we're just getting rid of the hard number and just referring back to the state code so we don't come into conflict with that on accident. We're just making some changes to submittal requirements for subdivision plans and plats. Right now, the ordinance requires 13 paper copies. We haven't required 13 paper copies since COVID because a lot of our other departments shifted to electronic review, so we're changing the number to 3. And then same for final plat material. The court accepts paper plats, so we're moving the requirement to submit it on Mylar. Some more submittal updates, again, the 13 to 3. You'll see a reference we struck that references blue line prints, which were done in the 80s and 90s. We have large paper plotter printers now that produce modern prints. We're just getting rid of that outdated term. There's a reference to the General Assembly COVID-19 extension. That expired this July, so we're removing it from the ordinance. And that's the bulk of our changes to the subdivision ordinance. I'm going to go ahead and move forward to 24-1, our zoning ordinance.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
With the plans and permitting, can that all be done electronically?
It could. We're actually moving towards implementing that in the future, doing an electronic plan review process.
Okay.
So we are still requiring paper at this time, but again, the goal in the future is to be electronic fully.
Do we know about how long that's going to take to implement? Just curious.
I don't want to quote a hard number because...
Just the ballpark. Is it 6 months? Is it a year?
Maybe a year.
Okay.
Okay.
Ballpark.
Yeah, that's close.
Okay.
Thanks.
You can say any time after the end of this month, then you're not on the hook anymore.
Ways of getting even.
Please continue.
All right. So you see we added some new definitions to the zoning ordinance. We added battery energy storage facilities. I'm going to pause on that. So I have a whole bunch of slides a little later because we wrote performance standards for these. So I'm going to get really in depth in that portion of what these are, where we're going to permit it, and the kind of the logic behind some of our performance standards that we're proposing. We added these facilities. We've gotten some inquiries, and I think this is in part to the Kings Creek Solar Project. So we've received some requests and inquiries from different developers of these systems, and so we figured, hey, let's take a look at putting this in the ordinance and trying to regulate it. We also added definitions for casinos and off-track betting establishments because we're proposing to prohibit them, and therefore we need to define them. There's also another change to the state code. This actually happened last year. The definition changed for transient occupancy from 90 to 30 consecutive days, so we're just updating it to stay compliant. The archaeological review fee, again, it's in 2 places in the subdivision and zoning ordinance.
Is the state de-emphasizing the archaeological review? Is that what they're doing?
So we used to, when we got a phase 1 study, we used to be able to send it to VDHR and they would review it for compliance with their standards. About, I want to say it was almost 2 or 3 years ago, they sent us in James City a letter basically saying, we're not doing that for you anymore. So we have to rely on a consultant to do that for us now.
But it's still required, though.
Well, yeah, because we have the historic resource management overlay that has, okay, if you have an archaeological site, you gotta do studies and then, leave it in place or recover it, or, as you go through the process, what's gonna be
So in
required.
those studies, the Reed had, I think they described like 3 levels.
Yeah.
You can get more intense as you,
Yes.
okay, and who pays for that? We pay for that, or the developer?
The developer pays for those studies. What we would do previously is they would pay an archaeologist to produce that, and then we would, ferry it to VDHR for them to review. Again, when they told us we're not looking at it anymore, so now we take the study that the developer has paid for and produced, and then ferry that to the consultant, because we don't have an archaeologist on staff who can
So
review
who
those.
determines the level?
So they start with a phase 1 study if the site hasn't been explored already. And then the phase 1 informs, do you need to do a phase 2, which is the more intensive, okay, do I leave in place or recover? Or the phase 1 can also determine, hey, there isn't anything here, or there isn't things of significance that I would need to protect.
Okay.
So they kind of inform each other in intensity.
Okay.
Okay.
We added a piece of language about applicant deferral for rezoning applications and special use permits. So right now, after an application goes to the Planning Commission, the applicant can say, I want to defer this from consideration by the board. And it hangs out in kind of a weird limbo land, and there's nothing to force it to go forward. So what we're proposing here is when an applicant, after they've gone to Planning Commission, chooses to defer, either they go to you in a year or it's going to expire, because frankly, the conditions around the Planning Commission consideration and frankly, even around the request can change pretty drastically if it sits on a shelf for 3 years.
So is that effective with passing of this ordinance, or are there grandfathered cases?
I don't know, this would be effective with the passing of this ordinance.
Thank you.
This is just removing, again, older references to the COVID-19 extensions for the General Assembly. This is a clarification for HVAC equipment. We're updating it to say you only have to screen your HVAC if it's in a front yard. If it's in your backyard, you don't need to screen it, it's in the backyard. For home occupations, we're not changing any content. There were just some funky little grammar errors from last year when there was the big overhaul, so we're just doing some wordsmithing there to fix the grammar errors. All right, I'm going to move forward to the table of land uses. Some changes here. We're proposing to allow group homes by special use permit in EO, IL, and IG. That's our economic opportunity, limited industrial, and general industrial zoning districts. We're proposing to allow grocery stores by special use permit in LB, and this was kind of in recognition of the fact you could have small grocery stores that might be appropriate in these areas, but we want to require a special use permit because there's extant things that are going to need conditions with grocery stores. We've adjusted category 15, limited industrial activities, for contractors' shops. We've struck shops and said facilities. We're adding UCC, that's standalone storage yard. We've had a number of contractors request that they actually would like to have a standalone storage yard without the associated shop. So we're treating it a lot like we treat outdoor storage. It's going to be specially permitted in general business and economic opportunity and permitted by right in our industrial districts.
So,
Yes.
so that means if they have not a shop, but a facility, storage, repair, so forth, they can also potentially have standalone storage, but not a bare lot that they just put storage on.
Yeah, we're proposing, it would truly be like a storage yard. So it's somewhere they could put their equipment and things, and it's just the yard. It doesn't have the actual building on there where they have their shop and office.
Okay.
And then our last adjustment is in 17 utilities. You'll see we added battery energy storage facility. We're proposing to only permit that by special use permit in economic opportunity and the industrial districts as well. These have potential impacts that we would want to make sure they go to you all for review and consideration, and then there's conditions applied specific to what's being proposed. We added casinos and off-track betting to the list of prohibited uses. If this passes, these would not be permitted to be established in York County. This is just a minor clarification of the standards to the Yorktown Village Activity District, that if you have structures that are accessory typically to single-family homes like sheds. They are permitted by right. The code isn't, for this section, not 100% clear, so we had some confusion with residents. So can I put my shed in the backyard? Is that something I can do by right? We're clarifying that yes, you can do that. For temporary office trailers in conjunction with construction, what the process is for those is they go to zoning and they get their permit for the temporary trailer. When they get the permit, they provide zoning as surety. And what the surety does is when construction's complete, a way for them to guarantee that the trailer's gonna go away and it doesn't sit there and molder. There's an option in the zoning language right now that allows for, in lieu of surety, to do an agreement with the building official. No one's ever used that or done that, and so we opted to just strike that and leave the surety as the predominant option, or rather requirement. All right, I promised I would talk about battery energy storage facilities, and here we are. So, battery energy storage facilities, some of you are probably familiar with them, but they basically serve their lithium-ion batteries, frankly, in things that look like Conex containers, and they serve to sort of store electricity that's generated by renewables, like solar in this example, and they kind of hang on to it until the grid needs an injection of that stored energy. Again, given we have the upcoming solar facility and looking at future energy uses that might be more variable, we thought it was probably appropriate to include these in our zoning ordinance, but we have to have regulations and performance standards. So we mentioned only allowing them by special use permit. We also have some language about what the SEP applications needs to include when it goes before the Planning Commission and the board. We are asking for a detailed narrative, not just describing the project, but giving capacity specifications, providing a maintenance plan, description of any ancillary facilities, and they have to detail any potential impacts they're going to have on natural and historic resources in the site they're going to go to. We're also requiring visual renderings of the proposed structures and landscaping treatments. This is just a photo of a facility in, I believe this is in Chesterfield County. They're not pretty, going to be blunt. And so we're having added a lot of strict screening requirements because frankly, yeah, they're Connex boxes. They're not particularly pretty to look at. So for screening, we're requiring screening with architectural features, berms, evergreen landscaping, fall to ground evergreen landscaping. So we want to make sure it's buffered from view. We have minimum required setbacks, 100 feet from property lines and then 500 feet from occupied structures. So these are containers full of lithium-ion batteries. Fire is a concern. We need that distance to ensure safety.
Mm-hmm.
Do they generate any kind of noise issue at 100 feet?
In our research, we didn't hear noise come up as a primary, like a major concern like we did for data centers. We saw that a lot and just experiences that other localities have had. We haven't heard a noise issue with the localities that have had these, like Virginia Beach, for example.
Okay. You speak about batteries and energy storage units. If it's not a battery, what does this, in the context of this ordinance, what is an energy storage unit?
I might have misunderstood your question.
So when you let off this section, we're talking about batteries and energy storage units.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that might have just been maybe
So
not speaking.
we're still talking about batteries.
Yeah, battery energy storage,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Battery energy storage. okay.
Apologies.
Are
yeah.
we talking about nuclear fission or something?
Not there yet, no. Later.
Have you defined the size of the battery storage?
We don't give a prescriptive size limitation. It's scalable. The ones that are like, for example, like accessory to solar can be a certain size, and it depends on the size of the solar field. There's like the large one we saw in Chesterfield, that's Dominion's project, so that's massive. You have some we saw in our research that again are accessory to like solar, and it's maybe 2 units. So the size and the inquiries we've gotten actually have been possibly adjacent to transmission lines, so not expected to be, acres and acres of size, more as like potentially smaller. We didn't want to have a prescriptive size because we want it to be dependent on what's being proposed and then would be considered by you all.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of somebody who's off the grid and maybe not near Dominion power supply and wants solar supply with a battery storage to run their house at night. It seems strange that we would require an SUP for that.
Okay. So for these, as a primary use utility scale, for a potential accessory application, what we saw in our research is that that's a little more, speculative is not the right word. We haven't seen that deployed as much, and where it is deployed, we needed to do a bit more research on if we're going to write accessory standards, making sure that's done correctly, because most of the accessory things, or accessory standards, many of those are by right, so is it something we would want to make by right or by SUP? And then if we're going to make it by right, what are the appropriate standards? So in the next couple of months, planning staff's going to be working on actually larger energy generation text amendments, and that's going to be part of that larger batch.
So there may be an amendment coming, is what you're saying?
For accessory, yes. That just required a bit more study on staff's part.
So accessory, you mean if somebody wanted to get whole home battery backup, they're subject to this ordinance and special use permit?
At the moment they are, because there's no size.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to need to look at an amendment to.
Yeah, what we're
from-
writing here is really for the use as a primary use on a lot. not
Yeah, I was looking at
necessarily
this from a
accessory.
commercial perspective, but if we're going to if this is going to impact homeowners that get one of those Tesla batteries, whatever that alternative energy is, and yeah, we definitely need to carve out something for that, so, okay.
All right, just to kind of round out, we're requiring a submittal of a hazmat plan to fire and life safety, safety signage, and security fencing. And then really similar to solar facilities and data centers, the maintenance and decommissioning regulations. We want the developer and then whoever the site owner is going to be in the future, again, they need to give us the maintenance agreement, and then if they're going to shut it down, if it's shut down for a period of time, they need to take the guts out. We don't just want it to sit there, especially when it's batteries.
So there's a performance standard, if it ceases to operate in the capacity that it was originally built, they have to tear it down?
Yeah, so it's very similar to the language you just actually saw with data centers, where if they execute an agreement, and that's going to go to the county attorney's office, but if it ceases operation within a certain number of days, and then they don't notify, if they submit a notice to say, hey, I'm selling the facility, and it's going to get restarted in a week, as opposed to, I have not operated for this number of days, and therefore it's going to compel them to remove the equipment.
Going back to what we were just talking about,
Could I?
if you have a solar powered home and that power is stored in batteries, how does this impact existing homes with solar power?
So
Solar power in Virginia, you sell back into the grid.
Yeah, but some of those, their excess energy, they store on site in batteries.
Very few. Most other states, yes. In Virginia, you get one-for-one payback from Dominion. For anything you put back into the grid, you get in return. So there's no advantage of a battery in Virginia.
But does anybody have that installed in York County today? And if so,
Using a battery?
Having their solar energy stored in a battery before it either goes into their home or pumped out to the grid?
RVs and camper homes have them.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's what I'm asking. I don't.
yeah, I do want to note for the.
I'm wondering if we could make an amendment. Section 24-1, 494-2 title, it says battery energy storage facilities. Can we just put non-residential behind that?
Just make it commercial.
In other words, it has to be a commercial application?
Yeah, 'cause, my whole takeaway from this was looking at it from a commercial perspective now.
Yeah, if we specified that it's commercial rather than non-residential, I think we've addressed it.
Yeah, that's not to say that we won't need some standards later on for residential, but
Fine with that.
so that we don't get people jammed up here tonight.
Well, she said that's coming in a couple of months, right?
But we could change it with one
Yeah,
amendment
for sure.
here.
Okay.
We want to change it now.
Just put
I would.
Yeah, make it an R.
non-residential or commercial
Make it
only.
an R then.
One of the two. Could be commercial only or non-residential.
Okay. Would we want to call it utility scale? We don't define that though, so no, okay. Okay, all right.
One other
That's it.
question while we're here
So
on
would
this.
you land on commercial or non-residential? Okay.
And we can call it commercial and industrial, or just
I'd say non-residential's better, yeah.
Not non-residential.
Okay.
The question I had was, you said after a certain amount of days of it being out of function, is that specified?
180 days.
Okay. I didn't see it, so thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Continue.
Moving forward, this is again similar to subdivision plans. For site plans, we're just removing the requirement to submit a blue line print. They don't make those anymore. This is just updating our review timelines again to adhere to the Code of Virginia, and removing the references again to the expired COVID-19 extensions. We added a new definition to the sign code in Article 7, specifically
Yes,
for
all this
online
is-
order pickup signs. You see these all the time now in like grocery store, Target, parking lot, big box parking lots. They weren't really addressed directly in the sign code, so our zoning code enforcement staff came to us with a request, hey, we'd like to define this for clarity. So that's been added here. And then following that, it's been added to this section for exempt signs. So it's if it is within the size and height limitations within this section, you don't need to go get a sign permit to have an online order pickup sign in your parking lot. And then for general sign regulations, we added a piece of language about how to measure a circular sign, and we're referencing a figure in the appendix that I'm going to come to in a few slides. So in Appendix A, we have this figure, which shows where you can put accessory structures. You can't read it because it's been scanned and it's very pixelated. So we've recreated it to be clear. We added a new figure on how to measure a circular sign. Now, a question you may have is, why do you give two options on how to measure a circle? Speaking as our zoning staff who process the sign permits, a lot of times when the sign package comes in from a sign manufacturer, they actually, the way the sign manufacturer and the sign company measures the sign is they actually do provide like a square, a length and width. And so zoning will usually just default to that because that's what they provided them. However, we have option one that if the sign company doesn't measure it by length width, then you would measure it like you would a regular circle, pi r squared.
And thank you for using regular math to figure this out, not some weird government
You're welcome.
math.
So again, this is just that annual exercise of, what are some new land uses we want. Mostly this is just an exercise in clarifying regulations, bringing it up to date with the Code of Virginia and streamlining standards. So the Planning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval of these amendments, and we're recommending approval as well, and you can do that through your adoption of Ordinance 2525.
Is it R?
R, thank you.
Yeah.
Caitlin, I had one last question, and it might be more directed to Chief Baldwin. How do we address firefighting for battery storage? Come to the mic.
Thank you, Caitlin.
My question is, do we need to be within certain distances of hydrants?
We'd recommend that we maintain our standard distance within 1,000 feet. Some of these, so we have adequate water supply, because again, depending on the type of storage system, lithium versus others, and the size of the storage system would determine what extinguishing agent is going to be used and the amount that it's going to be needed. But again, we would stand with the standard hydrant spacing that we have right now.
And you wouldn't have a specific requirement for length or distance to hydrants, or
We'd want to be within 500 to 1,000 feet.
500 to 1,000? Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's not in here. I'm wondering if it needs to be. It's already in, okay, just not in our revision.
Right, it's not specific to battery.
Thank you, Chief.
It's specific to all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's correct. And again, a lot of this depends on the type of storage facility, the type of materials involved.
Understood.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
where my question was coming from.
Thank you, Caitlin. I don't have anybody signed up to speak. Is there anybody who would care to address this issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and what's the pleasure of the board? Any comments prior to that? Okay.
I'll move, where we at? Is E 21225?
R.
R.
2525R.
Yep.
Yes.
The motion made by Mr. Roan is to adopt proposed ordinance number 2525R to amend York County subdivision ordinance, Chapter 20.5, and the York County zoning ordinance, Chapter 24.1, with verbiage added of non-residential as amended. Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Yes.
Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Agenda number 5, which, by the way, is the 4th public hearing on this, I understand. Traffic signal violation monitoring enforcement, and I'm going to call on our county attorney to address this issue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to be tag teaming a little bit with the sheriff this evening on this. As you may recall, the Code of Virginia provides specific statutory authority for localities to adopt various monitoring systems for different types of zones. We have one that we've already authorized in York County for the speed zones. In addition, we have adopted one that authorizes the school board to adopt monitoring cameras in school buses for violators who pass stopped school buses. This is an additional tool that is available to localities and to us, should we choose to adopt it, that would allow us to implement a program to monitor red light runners, red light violators. And pursuant to the Code of Virginia, there's a series of steps that have to be undertaken prior to implementing a program, and this is the specific authorizing legislation that would allow York County to implement such systems at intersections throughout the county following the various steps. The violations would be recorded and ticketed, citations sent in the same manner or a very similar manner to that we currently use for these school zones. And then there's an expectation, I believe, that a third-party vendor would be engaged to assist with that process as well as to install the systems. And with that, I will ask Sheriff Montgomery to give some additional specifics. He has in the past explained that we have some particularly dangerous intersections in York County and has asked for this assistance and tool to help his officers and his deputies police it.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the board. Yes, I've worked with the county attorney on this. There's one particular intersection that started this whole process. That's George Washington Memorial Highway and Victory Boulevard, right in front of Walmart. I'm sure most of us are very familiar with that. So I've received, over the past 2 years, multiple concerns about the traffic issues there. I've got some statistics. Since January 1st of 2024, there have been 169 crashes at this intersection. We have written, the deputies, my traffic deputies have written 281 red light violations in the county during that time, with 162 of them being at that particular location. Based on those statistics, earlier this spring, I did have a software company that does red light violations installation actually do a one-day study on a Friday. The study ran from 6 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night at that intersection, Route 17 and Victory Boulevard. And during that time, there were 119 violations recorded, which shows that if we've written 162 tickets, there was 119 recorded by this system in one day. Red light cameras have shown statistically across the country that not only do they reduce the amount of red light violations, but there are varying statistics that show between 24 and 40% reduction in traffic crashes in the intersections where they occur, and they also impact the surrounding intersections as well. There's data from the National Institute of Highway Safety. So, to be transparent, this would be the first place that if you pass this ordinance that we would move forward, and this is in conjunction with the Virginia Department of Transportation, as Mr. Hill was talking about. It's a much more involved process than the school radar enforcement cameras, which essentially, once you pass that ordinance, gave us the authority to move forward with the project basically on our own to just decide which vendor it was going to be. Through VDOT, they have to be involved as well. I've had multiple conversations already with Rossi Carroll, which I know the board is very familiar with. He supports this program. His people would have to be involved in the engineering study as well. He and I have already discussed looking at 2 other possible intersections because of the growing problems there that we're gathering data on now. One would be Hampton Highway and Victory Boulevard, and the other would be Fort Eustis Boulevard and George Washington Memorial Highway as potential sites. But this site is the most dangerous site right now, and according to Rossi Carroll, it's the most congested intersection in Hampton Roads, and those are his words. I believe that this is a huge public safety issue at this site. Not only that, it makes it very difficult for my deputies because of the infrastructure and the way it's set up in that intersection for us to actually do these red light violations. Essentially, these 162 were based on the deputies being at one of the 4 intersections and observing it, and then they have to make the decision whether they're going to go through the red light as well to get these violators, and there's no real safe place to pull somebody over in that intersection, particularly when it's very busy. So this is a safety issue for them as well for enforcement. So this would take care of the problem, I believe, and I think that it would enhance public safety in that intersection. And I'm glad to answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions? Tom?
Just real quick, and I think this going to go to, I think, a recommendation by somebody. It might have been you, Steve, about making a public hearing for a future cameras. But if I look at what we did under the school system, we had a public hearing to say we're going to do this, and then it was approved, and then that really could allow you to move these cameras to other schools once a place like I don't know. Let's see, where was it? I think it was Bethel Elementary, and that you could take it and say, okay, well, the traffic now is slowed down, everything's good, now let's go move it someplace else. Is this any different than what that would be in the sense of public hearing requirements?
Well, no.
And
The state statute provides that you can have these systems, one of these systems in an intersection per 10,000 people. So in round numbers, we could potentially have 7.
Right.
I have no intentions at this point of being anywhere close to that. Victory in Route 17 is my major concern right now. But because of some of the increasing numbers at the other 2 that I mentioned, I thought it would be, I should be transparent and let you know that I would do those studies, and a lot of that's based on the conversation that I had with Rossi Carroll, who agrees with that as well, that those are potential sites. So right now, it would be 1 that we know of. I would look at no more than 2 or 3 at the tops. I don't see any other intersections right now that are presenting the types of scenarios that I'm talking about, where we have lots of crashes, difficult to enforce, and a growing problem. Those are the 3 places right now that I would discuss, with Victory in 17 being far and above the worst.
that 3?
The reason I'm asking this is because it just seems to me that this is very similar to what, it's the same concept. I mean, the end games, you get a $50 ticket.
Right.
You don't get it on your record. You don't, your insurance not reported to insurance.
That's correct. It's a civil fine of $50.
Just seems to me to be the same. I'm just wondering what would drive this to be, if you wanted to have the flexibility to move it. I mean, is this more difficult to move than, more disruptive to move than you would have like for a school system?
Yes, because
Okay.
there's a lot of installation issues. The way these systems work is there are sensors placed on the highway where the stop bar is, and they are coordinated with the lights themselves. And state statute requires that there can't be a violation until a half a second has passed, that the light has turned fully red, and now a vehicle passes that stop bar a half second later, that's when the violation occurs. So these companies that come in and install it, I've been given quotes that to them, and this is their out-of-pocket expense to begin, they could be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 to install these systems in these intersections, and that's at their cost. There is no cost to the community.
So what is a stop bar?
Where
Is
you,
that
where you
white-
pull up that white light.
That white line, the
White
big white line
yes,
there? Okay,
right.
so if you go 1 second, so under normal policing, the traffic safety, so what does, what guidance do you give your deputies? So what guidance do the deputies have if they actually see somebody run through a red light? What constitutes?
Pretty much they're having the eyeball. If they're sitting there in traffic in the southbound lane in front of Walmart and the light turns red, and a vehicle goes past them after that,
Okay.
then we issue them a summons. This system is basically what it's going to do is make it the same for everyone. A half a second by state statute, the light has turned red. No violations will be issued until a half a second has passed by when the light turns red, and now someone passes through there. Now they're going to get a violation.
So if a policeman stops you and pulls you over, that gets on your record. That's, the fine's probably going to be a little higher, I guess.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
it's
sure.
considerably higher, and it goes on your driving record and
Insurance.
potentially will be
Okay.
reported to your insurance company.
All right, so again, I'll come back to my concern about the flexibility for you to move these things. It sounds like it's going to be not as easy as you do on a school system where you got the.
Well, I'm talking to several different vendors right now, and I know that there are some localities that do have it built in that they'll allow 1 or 2 moves at the company's expense. Beyond that, then they're probably going to start to pass that expense along to us. If I wanted to move Route 17 in Victory to Route 17 in Production, that's a $20,000 to $50,000 cost to that company.
That would kind of be a prohibitive, maybe, it's
Right.
got to be a very serious concern. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Shepherd, just give you my thought process on the amendment that I had asked for. We have one intersection that we know is problematic, as Sheriff Montgomery shared, the Route 17, Victory Boulevard one. 2 more that probably needs a lot of attention. So you can consider those given, but it may be years from now before another one gets to a point where it needs attention. And given that, and since we can't predict what the contract will look like, the liability of the county, the financial burden the county may carry, I wanted that to come back to the board for consideration rather than just hope nothing changes between now and then. So that was my thought process behind asking for that amendment, so that the board has a chance with the public to review the ask and make the right decision.
Well, I'm not adverse to public input. I'm just
I'm
trying
not
to
either.
understand what's driving it. I mean, that's a good point.
That
I mean,
was-
if it's, because I mean, I remember the original cost. I had to go back to the original cost where I was quoted when they came up when they passed that law. It was like the city of Newport News said it was going to be like $300,000 to do an install in Jefferson and
Yeah, there's no
Glacier
cost to
Point.
us.
So no cost to us. It sounds like this is a pretty smart move for us because it saves on manpower. And
Okay.
and it really.
Anybody
enhances
else have
safety.
any questions? Yes,
Just one more thing. So, Sheriff Montgomery, you and I have talked about this, and it's pretty clear the right direction going forward on it. The only question I have is, we want to stop people willfully going through red lights when they shouldn't be. I'm concerned, I don't want people to get popped for a red light violation if they have proceeded through the intersection before it turned red, but due to traffic or something,
They couldn't
get
get-
caught in the intersection when the light turns red, they get photographed as a violation. So I'm assuming, and hopefully you can clarify this for us, that the deputy who reviews every video that gets sent can make that judgment and go, no, that person didn't run the red light, it just got caught in the intersection. It's not an automatic, they're
It's the
getting a
same-
citation.
My deputies have to approve it the same way they do the school flashing lights, to show that the flashing lights were working at the time that they went through the school zone. Same thing with this. We get a photograph. The company reviews it first, but the deputies have to sign off on it before it's approved. So you will see a photograph that the vehicle is at the stop bar, the light is already red before they went through this, at that half second. So yes, we have to certify that.
Okay, all right.
What happens if, and I've seen this now down there at 17, and I've also seen on 134, where people are actually jamming up the intersection. They're actually they go in and
Oh, I know.
stop in the middle of the intersection. Now, you do that in Newport News, you're gonna get a ticket. So they should be able to be smart enough to know when to go into the intersection and not block it. So is that gonna be if you're sitting in the middle of an intersection?
The way I understand the system, when I'm talking to people, that the first vehicle, if the light turns, now if the first vehicle went into the intersection when it's yellow and gets caught by traffic in front of it, then there won't be any other violations after that. It'll just have to clear. This is when the light turns red, someone is at the stop bar and goes past it after a half second.
Has to be read.
That was it, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sheriff, I had one question. It was the same question we asked during the review of speed cameras in front of the schools. Where do the funds go? Where do we direct the funds to? I don't want this to be seen as a tax grab and the citizens complaining that we're just doing this for improving our coffers.
What's this?
The funds, the $50 fine goes into the county's general fund,
Okay.
which is the same thing as the school radar cameras.
All right. Thank you.
Wayne?
So, mine's not really a question other than, as you and I discussed, my concern is popping cameras everywhere. And I know that's a big concern of a lot of people, that they're being filmed everywhere they go anymore. So I just want to be clear that this is to start the one camera at Victory in 17 right now, but doesn't give us any flexibility other than you coming back to the board and asking for another location at such time that we feel like it is required. Does that sound correct?
Well, I'm being upfront telling you that the first one that is going to get the attention right away that we're moving forward on is Victory in 17. I'm looking at the other two to do traffic
No,
studies
this
on
doesn't
there to
say
see
anything about
if they warrant that type of attention. So I don't know the statistics on that at this point in time. I have to have the same studies done there as I did here.
Okay.
Sheriff, I'd ask you to come back to this board and advise us
Yeah.
if you're going
Oh,
forward.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's my,
If
Well, I thought the.
Madam Chair, if I may,
What?
if I may.
Yes.
So the reference that's been made to the proposed amendment has been passed along, and it's now designated as an R ordinance.
Okay.
And
Is this an R?
yes.
Well, I'm trying to find it.
So the change that is indicated is on page 5.
Oh, no wonder I didn't find it. I hadn't got
It's
that
on,
far.
it's on page 5, section 15-84, subsection B. Currently, in the proposed language, it reads, prior to implementing any system, the county administrator shall advise the Board of Supervisors in writing of the intention to implement the system.
Yes.
The amendment as proposed by Mr. Roan, as I understand it, would
Yes.
be to add the following language after that. The Board of Supervisors shall hold at least one public hearing before the implementation of any proposed system and must approve the proposed system by majority vote. The requirement for a public hearing and vote contained in the preceding sentence shall not apply to the implementation of a system at the intersection of Route 17 and Victory Boulevard, provided the county administrator otherwise follows the requirements of this section in advance of the implementation of such
Okay.
system. And I understand that there might be a request to also add the intersections at Hampton Highway and Victory Boulevard and Fort Eustis Boulevard and Route 17 to that list as well.
And since we're having that conversation tonight, right now.
Yes.
I think it's appropriate to add those two other intersections here in that language.
Yes, but but they will come before the board before we approve it.
Sheriff Montgomery's already committed to doing that.
It would, what that would mean is that those three intersections, effectively, the board is saying tonight, we're implementing the system, and we agree now that it's appropriate assuming that you get the traffic studies and everything else you need to do to implement them at those 3 intersections. Anything beyond that, they would have to come back to the board for a public hearing.
With the provision that he advises us in advance that it's going live at a new intersection. That's what I just asked.
Are we
I'm
now?
not asking for a new resolution. I'm asking for the sheriff to come back to us and advise, if he's going forward with Fort Eustis Boulevard, that he's telling us it goes live on a certain date.
Yes.
No problem. I'll be glad to do that.
Are we saying for this, that we're approving all 3 of them now?
Yes.
Effectively approving them by exempting them from the future public hearing requirement.
I thought we were going to just do the first one and then come back to the board for the subsequent ones.
I'd like just to have both of them included.
Yeah, because we're already having the
We already-
conversation
yeah.
tonight in the public forum about 1 for sure, 2 potential, so we've covered the opportunity for the public to chime in on and give feedback on that, but it's subsequent ones
There's
that.
no public here. Okay.
Stephen, I thought you said you wanted a public hearing before we moved forward with another location.
I did too.
Isn't that what I thought I heard you say?
For what's not already, what was it?
You got 3 listed
What
here.
is it, what wasn't already spoken about? We've already, remember, the sheriff talked about Victory Boulevard and 17
Period.
definite.
That was the first
But
one.
he also, in the same conversation, was talking about the potential need for the other 2 locations. So since we're having the conversation tonight, it's open, it's public, everybody's hearing about it.
That's a potential need. We do one at a time. I thought we were going to do one at a time and then come back and have a public hearing for each subsequent light.
But, I agreed, but I thought we were having that public hearing now for
No,
all
this
3.
doesn't cover it all. I'm looking, where's the public?
Well, where's the
Nobody-
public?
this has not been-
Where's the
this-
public on the first one? Well, so I don't see, to me,
So we're
this
going
is
to
not, this
piggyback,
is,
we're going to piggyback on it and say that this is a public hearing. No, I don't want to do that.
well, then you're against the whole thing.
No, I'm for
Well,
the one.
no, what you just said, you're against the whole thing. The way you're saying it is that, because the sheriff's already been talking to us about it, okay? And my point is, let the sheriff go ahead and do this stuff. And where's the hill to climb here?
Then I will be against it.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I would like to, if there's a minimum, I want 134 and
I do-
Victory in there, because that to me is the
That's
second
the
most
one that I thought we
dangerous.
were doing.
No,
No.
we're doing 134 and 17.
Is it 134 and
What-
17?
I
What
want
we're
one-
doing?
No.
134 and.
Victory.
Victory.
and-
You know,
Excuse-
I want
excuse- yeah.
134 and Victory in there, because we got, right now, 134 and 17. And from personal experience, over the years, 134 and 17, or excuse me, 134 and Victory is just as bad. Okay?
And that's
so-
the second one. I
That's the
said,
second
what's
worst
one of
one
the
in
other
this
2,
county.
I said we were going to study.
Right.
How soon do you think those studies will be done? You have any
Okay, I'm
rough
not-
idea?
I'm not doing, this is too fast.
It'll-
How long does it
Not
take?
much
It'll take
discussion
30 to
about it.
45 days for them to
I'd be
put the
happy to do the
equipment.
one.
I have to work with VDOT on that as well, for them to be able to put the
I
equipment
just
up to
found
do
out
it.
about it. I'm not going to do this one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Sheriff. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anybody who cares to speak to this subject? See no one, I'll close the public hearing, and what is the pleasure of the board? Any further comments?
Well, we need to move it and then have discussion, right?
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Well,
I move ordinance number 25-24R.
roll call, please.
Well,
No,
well,
no.
dis-
Discussion.
Discussion, right. Right. So we need discussion because we have contention on exactly how much this is going to cover tonight.
And the discussion is, I thought we were going to cover just the one tonight, and then subsequent ones would come before the board for a public hearing.
Yes, but your argument that you made invalidates what you just said.
What argument did I make that
You
invalidates
said
it?
that you just, or the public doesn't know about it. Well, what does the public know about the first one?
Doesn't
Other than
matter.
This thing was added as an R. Yeah, it does. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Of
The
course
first
it
one-
matters.
The first one was advertised.
Was it advertised? I thought that was the adjustment.
It was not. The state law does not require a public hearing except for the enabling ordinance, which is what we
But they submitted.
what we did, what we published, and what was presented for it. The addition of the requirement for a public hearing is a new requirement that's been added at the request of Mr. Roan. And then additionally to that, there is a exemption to that requirement for the one intersection.
Okay.
And there's a discussion about adding two
My
others.
point is that you approve the agenda, and the agenda is a public document. Am I correct?
Right, but that wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't included in the resolution. That's what we're saying. That's why it's an R. Because it's been included as an R. Now it's an R. Because you want the thing on 17. And what Steve's proposed is because the sheriff has talked to all of us, and we're having a public hearing now.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? He talked to all of you, he didn't talk to me about this.
He stood up here and talked to all
No.
of us. That's all of us,
Mhm.
okay? You seem to not grasp the significance of a modification of the resolution here. And that's the part that he's making, that we're saying in here, that was submitted as a resolution, with the R was to get 17, just go ahead and approve 17 and Victory Boulevard. But the sheriff has made multiple comments over the issue of these other two intersections, and we know damn well that 134 in Victory is the second most dangerous, if not even more dangerous than 17. You've been on this board for almost
Okay.
3 decades.
Roll call,
So
please.
let me
Have we
ask,
had enough
let me ask,
discussion?
let me ask a question. So if we want to consider all three, what if we table this until he gets the second two studies done? He just said 30 to 45 days, and then we can wrap them all up in one. We can make a decision on each one of them as the data comes.
Without knowing how successful the first one is.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Madam Chair, excuse me. The sheriff just told us what the reduction is across the board. So we know these work, I mean, according to what he shared with us earlier. So if it works and we're going to vote for it, I'd like to vote for all three, but I'd like to see the study done that says, yes, Hampton Highway and Victory is almost as bad or worse than 17 and Victory. And if Fort Eustis stacks up that way, then we can wrap it all up in at one time, instead of having.
But we don't have the study of it, and we haven't seen the study of it. And if we approve this without the study's after the fact.
I don't think you heard what I said. I'm trying to table it.
Oh,
So I got a question.
I like that one.
All we're trying to do is this is enabling legislation for us, okay? So the question is, then Sheriff, you have to answer this question, is this gonna slow you down if we table it?
of course it is.
Because he thought it was important enough to start this process.
The answer to your question is yes. The study that I had done in the spring, the company would do it for free. You can't find any vendors now that won't do that study because of the cost that's involved with them to put this equipment up and to go through the process with VDOT. So until we find a vendor, which would be the next step after tonight, if you approved it, moving forward with Route 17 and Victory as the primary one, then I would ask that same vendor to move forward with these other two studies. And they'll do that once we have a contract with them. They won't do that until we sign a contract.
Mr. Rowan, if I were to pull the resolution with the recommendation or with the revision and go back to the original resolution, would you be supportive of that?
Well, that runs into the problem I'm trying to avoid when you get past these three. Could be years from now before another intersection may need attention. And the way the resolution was originally written, we would have no say in the next one. The public would have no say in the next one. And it may not even be this board that is even involved at that point. And I believe that the public and the board should have a voice and some thought process into the installation of further lights. Now, like I said, I'm okay with what we need to do at 17 and Victory. That's pretty clear. And I'm okay with the studies for the other two locations and see what the study comes back with, whether we implement or not. I'm just saying tonight, we can approve 17 and Victory and go forward with the study.
That's
And then if the study comes back recommending it, then we've already covered everything. Anything after that, we're going to need to come back for review and public comment. What were you thinking
So-
by removing that? I mean, it certainly would move us forward, but then we're better off than we were originally.
We're stuck on the change. The original resolution, I believe we all support. So I'm wondering whether we vote on the original resolution.
When you vote on the original resolution is one thing, the R is another.
Correct.
You can have two different votes, okay?
That's
But I'm
right.
not gonna table this. I want this to move forward, but I would take all of them out, you know,
So-
whatever, to make it, whatever, get this thing going. That's what I want, okay? But I'm thinking, to me, why hold these things up? I mean, I can't even imagine that we're gonna get a great swell of protest against these cameras for public safety, because anybody that drives down these roads already experiences this.
I'm fully supportive of going forward. I'm just looking for a path that gets us there.
And I don't want to hold up the three.
And I want a public hearing for each individual.
And I'd say eliminate the public hearing requirement entirely.
Eliminate it?
That's what the original resolution calls for.
Oh.
If you can't handle going forward with 3, then I'd say take away your condition to restrict any of them.
So Stephen, under the
Oh, I understand what you're
revision,
saying now.
Yeah.
so under the revision, Stephen, you're talking about, will it come back, once the study's done, does it come back to the board for approval? For the next location? That's what I'm trying to
That's
figure
what
out.
I was
Or, because I don't hear that in here, I hear that as we're just giving permission for all 3 locations. That's if the study comes back and
If this
proves this.
supports it, right.
But who makes that decision?
With the provision that Sheriff Montgomery has to come back to this board and
Right.
advise us.
Yes, and then
So
who
we
makes that
agreed to that.
decision when he comes back to advise us? Is that the board's decision?
But let's.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Let's look at it this way.
Let the sheriff do his job.
Let's look at it this way. Right 17 in Victory. Does anybody disagree that that needs this type of attention?
No.
All right.
No.
134 and
Victory.
Victory. If the study comes back that the numbers show
That's
that it needs the same attention, does anybody disagree that we should put a camera up there?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, same thing with Fort Eustis and 17.
17.
All right, does anybody tonight disagree that if the numbers come back to show that it needs it, does anybody disagree about putting a camera up there?
No.
Okay, so we've already given our approval for it tonight for those 3 locations. It's the unknown beyond that is where I want to come back to the board in public hearing for anything beyond those 3. Because we've already agreed that if the study support it, to put cameras up there on those 3 locations. So that's all covered. It's beyond that is where I want some guardrail set up.
Right.
So if we agree with this revision, adding the 2 locations, then we just gave her approval. You know, didn't do the roll call. We just gave her approval, put red light cameras there if the study supported. So
Right.
let's just codify that and be done, and then anything after those 3 has to come back. That's what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
Which could be years down the road.
It could be years down the
Yeah.
road, you know?
And we've already, you know, we're letting the sheriff be the sheriff, and we've already given him the, you know, carte blanche basically on the school cameras. So, I mean, this is not I just don't see this as that big a thing.
Okay, where are we?
Well, we've had a motion to table, so we have to address that first.
Okay, this
I
motion.
I withdraw that because I wasn't aware that we had to get under contract before we get the second study done. I don't want to hold that progress up.
Yeah.
Are you going to take that back to tabling?
Withdraw it.
All right.
So the resolution now would have
There's,
all 3.
All thr-
All 3.
Right.
With the be a study, and if the study works, great. If it doesn't work, they don't get a light, and then that would be a future thing.
Yeah,
That
then
light
that-
like
then-
7 would come back later.
then that falls into the future, right, exactly.
So,
Mhm.
I've already raised that
right,
resolution.
Okay,
okay. So
Ready
it's,
for a vote.
so,
that's-
Anybody going to make the motion?
I did.
You did? Can't hear.
Is that the R? The
Yes.
revision, okay.
Roll call, please.
and that is with all 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
The motion made by Mr. Holroyd is to adopt proposed ordinance number 25-24R, incorporating traffic signal violation monitoring and enforcement into the county code as amended. Mr. Holroyd.
Yes.
Mr. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Roan.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay, the next item we have is number 6, which is grant permission to work over permanent county easement. And this is a proposed resolution R-25-138 to authorize the county administrator to execute documents permitting Virginia Natural Gas to locate and maintain equipment within county-owned easement. Is there anybody going to present this? Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Travis Rhodes. I am an engineer working for the Department of Public Works, and I am here tonight to present matters on this topic and the next topic. So, this topic, subject, I'm going to be old school and actually read the memo. I don't have any fancy material presented, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be straightforward. So, granted permission to work over permanent county easements at 806A Calthorpe Neck Road. So earlier this summer, Virginia Natural Gas representative reached out to the Department of Public Works to inquire about installing a gas pipeline with an existing county utility easement. This gas pipeline will be used to service a newly constructed residence. Given that there is a county vacuum sewer main within the easement, the Department of Public Works reviewed the request from Virginia Natural Gas from an O&M, operations and maintenance, standpoint. After review, the Department of Public Works agreed that installing the gas line 10 foot away from the existing vacuum main would not interfere with ongoing O&M. However, this still requires the placement of a private utility in a public easement, requiring an assignment of rights. And I might lean on some of my county attorney colleagues here to make sure I'm not butchering the legal descriptions. But with that there, I recommend approval of this resolution because it will give Virginia Natural Gas pretty much the right to install its service line to provide natural gas to the residents at 806A Calthorpe Neck Road.
Thank you.
And,
Any
yeah.
questions? Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone to address this issue? See, yes?
Madam Chairman, member of the boards. My name is Rick West.
Name and address, please.
Getting over a cold. My name is Rick West, and I'm a partner in J&R Custom Builders. We're building the house at 806A, and we own the lot. We've got a contract to move the people in at the end of this month with gas stove, gas heater, and gas fireplace. So I ask that you approve this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who care to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move it.
Okay. You're moving, let's see, that's
I mean, it's 6, right?
R-25-138. Roll call, please.
The motion made by Mr. Shepherd is to adopt proposed resolution number R-25-138 as presented. Mr. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Roan.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd.
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Next one is grant permission to work over permanent county easement again, and that's resolution number R-25-139 and R-25-140 to authorize the county administrator to execute documents granting Dominion Energy rights to perform utility work, et cetera, and so forth, on 1708 Baptist Road and 309 Z Gallo Way.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Bellamy, typically our screen share show was being broadcast out to the audience, but all I've been seeing for the past few minutes has been another change. Okay. I just want to make sure that this is actually being broadcast out to the world. Good job.
Travis, you have this one?
Good job there, Mr. Bellamy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, it's me again. So this is 2 resolutions, and pretty much this is the same thing but a different angle. This is essentially one of our capital projects. We need to run a fancier electrical through existing utility easements to one of our pump stations to support the upgrade of one of our pumps. So the Department of Public Works is coordinating on upgrading power to one of its sewer pump stations. This upgrade involves extending 480-volt three-phase power from an existing power pole on Baptist Road through existing county utility easements. Dominion Power has requested the rights from the county to use its easements. The easement is located over two properties, 1708 Baptist Road and 309Z Gallup Way, which requires two separate resolutions. So I recommend the board approve both resolutions as proposed. Approval of both will allow the project to proceed with the necessary power upgrades which are required for the new pumps and ultimately the station.
Okay.
And I'm here
Thank
for
you.
questions.
Any questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and what's the pleasure of the board?
Do we move both at the same time or vote one after the other? So I'll move R25, 139.
Roll call, please. 139.
The motion made by Mr. Roan is to adopt proposed resolution number R25-139 as presented. Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And now I'll entertain a motion for R29, 140.
No, I'll move R25-140.
Roll call, please.
The motion made by Mr. Holroyd is to adopt proposed resolution number R25-140 as presented. Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd?
Yes.
Mr. Drury?
Yes.
Mr. Roan?
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last item that we have is item number 8. And by the way, this is our 7th public hearing on this subject, I see. And it is to consider the adoption of proposed ordinance 2523 to amend Chapter 21 of the procurement of York County Code. And I think I have Teresa going to speak on this one.
Yeah, good evening. So tonight, we're just having a public hearing to make some minor adjustments to the purchasing ordinance of the county code. So we needed to make these changes to align or conform to the Virginia Public Procurement Act. And since these changes had to be made to align to it, we thought we'd take this opportunity to change some administrative things to improve the clarity, flexibility, and efficiency of the purchasing ordinance.
Okay.
So the first thing we're doing is changing a couple of things to align to the Virginia Public Procurement Act. And those things include outlining the process for solicitation of professional services. And these services include engineering, architectural services. There's a couple of minor changes there. And the other change involves compliance with state code for contract for information technology contracts. And we're doing this basically to comply with a new state code as it relates to those contracts. In addition, we're doing a few administrative changes. Those include updating the definitions for sole source, emergency, and exigency, I can't say that word, I'm so sorry, to put them in the definition sections of the ordinance. Notification of the board for emergency purchases. We're clarifying the informal process to allow vendors to make it a little bit easier for them to do businesses for bids that are less than $50,000. We're removing some construction language for flexibility and outdated references for pre-qualification. And we're also expanding library material to include items that are other than books, other media, to be able to sell those for surplus. And that's it. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? No, thank you very
I'd
much.
just like to understand maybe an example of the exigency. Exigencies.
I can't say that
clause.
word either. I'm gonna avoid or prevent or alleviate serious harm or jury, financial, otherwise, to the county. Something that, I mean, potentially maybe the COVID, something happened with COVID, or, you know, we had to do something in an emergency that would otherwise come to the board that was.
I understand emergency, and that's well covered, and I don't have an exception there, but I'm trying to understand the second one. So what examples would we have under exigency that would cause us to not use a competitive process?
It's not I'm gonna ask somebody, Beth, do you have an example? Beth is our new chief of procurement, and I'm not sure of an example, but she might be able to help me out.
I'm just trying to understand. it
I don't,
more.
I don't know that we've ever had one since I've been here in 8 years, so I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, so that would be for, in the name of public safety. So we could use that interchangeably with emergency, but it's specifically for public safety, and a public safety emergency.
So we have a large natural emergency.
That would be
Chief needs to go get
exigency.
some generators to get the hospital up and running. He's gonna find the first one he can get and not go through the normal process. Is that
Yes.
the basic?
Something,
Yes,
would be something that would.
yeah.
That's emergency.
Yeah.
Well,
You just described emergency.
anything public safety related, so mass shootings, anything that I could link to public safety, we would use that term.
Then they kind of use interchangeably then, but that.
They're using them interchangeably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the proper term is exigency.
Exigency, I can't say it either.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one.
But I'm struggling to understand what's different from
Yeah.
emergency.
It's urgent.
Yeah.
It's very
An
urgent.
emergency, not.
Very urgent.
Right.
Okay.
If I may, both terms are defined.
Any further questions of staff?
Say that again.
Lawyer.
Both terms are defined in the proposed ordinance at the beginning, under definitions.
Yes, I know, that's why I'm asking
Well,
the
yeah.
question. Because
Yeah.
it's not defined for me.
Okay.
I'm just noting that they're defined, and they're defined as different things.
Is it a legal term?
So, I mean, look, I guess the one, emergency
They're
says
the same.
threat to the public health, welfare, and safety. And exigency is
Okay.
to
Serious harm
avoid,
or injury or financial?
prevent, or alleviate serious harm or injury, financial or otherwise, to the county.
Okay.
Specifically to the county.
So one's to the county and one's to the
Right,
public.
yes, I see,
Correct.
I see what that is.
And the use of
course.
competitive procurement proposals would prevent.
Okay.
And then the second part of that's the same as the first, so.
Just can't imagine.
So it's vice versa of what you were saying.
So-
Exigency is for the county, and the emergency is for the public at large.
They are very similar.
Right.
I will tell you, I have not
Okay.
had to use that.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it not being an emergency when you.
yeah, me neither.
So-
It's
right.
intrinsic, way the definition here, the world defines it as, it's something intrinsic to the character of what needs to be done. In other words, it's not, an emergency could be anywhere, like you said.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you have any more
exigency is
questions for
a great
staff?
characteristic.
If not, thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to this conversation? I don't see anybody, so I'll close the public hearing. And what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move 25-23.
Only if you say the word.
Roll call, please. I think we've had our
The
discussion.
word.
The motion made by Mr. Roan is to adopt proposed ordinance number 25-23, approving amendments as presented. Mr. Holroyd,
Yes.
Mr. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Roan,
Now we've got to go to
Yes.
closed meeting.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. There's no new business, and then we'll have a closed meeting. I'll turn to Mr.
Yeah.
Holroyd.
Can I just say one thing, just to, maybe to clarify that little conversation we just had? Exigency doesn't mean it's an emergency. It could be something that the county needs, it's gonna cost us financially, but it's not an emergency, you don't have to go out there and do it today.
Be just urgent.
It could be something urgent that could be done in the next few days, where emergency is, you're gonna do it right now. So that's probably the difference between the two to make it more clear to
Thank
the
you.
board.
Very good. Mr. Holroyd.
I'll have a closed meeting motion. So first one is for personnel in accordance with section 2.2-371A, 3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. I move that the Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting to consider a personnel matter involving the appointment of individuals to boards and commissions. And the second motion is protection of privacy of individuals. Now, it's prospective business, isn't it? Excuse me. Mark, it's prospective business, is it not?
Yes.
So it should read prospective business or industry or expansion of existing business or industry in accordance with section 2.2-3711A5 of the Code of Virginia. I move that the Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting to discuss a prospective business or industry expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Roan,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Holroyd,
Yes.
Mrs. Knoll.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. I will adjourn to the next meeting, which will be Board of Supervisors will meet at 6 p.m., October 7th, in the East Room of York Hall. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening.